Chapter 2988. Not just anyone can call me an old man. Let me think about it. Just when they thought that Lin Ling would definitely agree, Lin Ling frowned and said, with his experience and knowledge, he didn't need a master. However, his words were earth-shattering. Everyone's breathing quickened. Even Grandma Wendao almost wanted to grab Lin Ling and make Lin Ling acknowledge him as his master. No, you must be my disciple. As for Xueqi, he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he became anxious. When they were at Wake Dragon Palace, he had already decided that Lin Ling would be his disciple. Trying to run away? No way. What's the benefit of being your disciple? Can I have cultivation resources? Lin Ling pondered again and said slowly. He lacked cultivation resources. If that senior could provide him with cultivation resources, it wouldn't be bad. Most importantly, that senior had left a good impression on him. Moreover, although he had unlimited potential, he still needed some time to establish himself in the 9 states. Therefore, he also needed a huge protective umbrella. No problem. Whether you want the stars or the moon, I'll agree to it. Xueqi nodded immediately, as if he was afraid that Lin Ling would go back on his word. All right, then I'll reluctantly become your disciple. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded reluctantly. Looking at his expression, he was actually a little unwilling. Beside him, Grandma Wendao almost gave Lin Ling a punch. This brat was too arrogant. Haha, that's great, that's great. Lin Ling, you'll become my first disciple. I have a disciple too. Ha 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 ha. Of course, Xueqi didn't think so much. When he saw Lin Ling nodding, he instantly laughed excitedly. This caused the entire Qing state to be filled with his laughter. Everyone was silent. Is he here to accept a disciple or to acknowledge a master? Why do I feel like he's so happy to acknowledge a master? Sakura and the rest stared at the legendary saint and were speechless. Of course, the silence in Qing state didn't last long. Old man, please accept me as your disciple. That's right, damn old man. My martial arts foundation is solid. Be my master. I'll give you a chance. At this moment, a series of reprimands rang out. The 99 Crown Prince, the left minister, and the others all spoke out one after another. Their eyes were burning with passion. This made the people of Qingzhou dumbfounded, but they soon reacted. The 99 Crown Princes and the rest were cursing the sage senior, but in reality, they were learning from Lin Ling. After all, saints would more or less have some eccentricities. They wouldn't like obedient disciples, but they would be tempted by disciples who acted differently from ordinary people. Perhaps these saints who had lived for countless years would prefer disciples with unique personalities. The 99th Prince and the others reacted so quickly. I also want to scold that senior. All sorts of thoughts surfaced in everyone's minds. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Many people wanted to follow suit. However, would they receive the same treatment as Lin Ling? This was obviously impossible. Old man? You're calling me old man. At this moment, Xueqi's gaze shifted and landed on the 99 Crown Princes and the others. He was a little surprised. Why would these ants scold him for no reason? That's right, you're a damn old man. The 99 Crown Prince was the first to speak. The Prime Minister next to him was afraid that he would be one step slower, so he also spoke. You're an old man. In their opinion, if Lin Ling could become a saint, so could they. However, they didn't know that Lin Ling and Xueqi had interacted before at Wake Up Dragon Palace. They were friends who had gone through life and death together. How could they compare to him? Very well, very well. I can still accept a junior calling me an old man. But the two of you don't look much younger than me, and yet you're calling me an old man? Xueqi laughed coldly. I dare you to call me an old man again. His last sentence caused the 99 Crown Princes and the others' hearts to thump. Their bodies continued to tremble. Could it be that they had called him wrongly? No, this senior was testing their courage. Old man. The 99 Crown Prince gritted his teeth and looked up at the old man. His face was full of fearlessness. He wanted to let the saint know that he, the 99 Crown Prince, was also a peerless genius. His head was the sky. His feet were on the ground, and his heart was higher than the sky. He would definitely be valued by the saint. Bang! However, just as he finished speaking, a mysterious force turned into a huge palm and slapped down fiercely. The 99 crown prince was instantly reduced to ashes. Even before he died, he didn't know why the senior wanted to kill him. Didn't the senior like geniuses with character? This turn of events stunned the Prime Minister and the Left Minister. Their faces were ashen. Why wasn't the senior angry when Lin Ling called him old man? Instead, he liked it. On the other hand, when they called him old man, they were instantly killed. I hate it when people call me old man. Because I'm not old. Without waiting for the Prime Minister and the others to speak, Xing Shiyun waved his sleeves again. An ancient force formed and killed the Prime Minister and the Left Minister. The leader of the three magnates died just like that. His death was as light as a feather. It was because they called him old man. At this moment, Qing province was completely silent. Everyone was trembling. They couldn't understand these eccentric seniors at all. Lin Ling laughed sarcastically. He didn't expect the 99 crown prince and the others to end up like this. Of course, he didn't understand why the 99 crown prince and the others were cursing Xing Shiyun. Weren't they courting death? His gaze quickly landed on the Lotus Emperor. That gaze made the Lotus Emperor's heart tremble. Lotus Emperor, I've said it before. You can't win today. Lin Ling's calm voice drifted out. The Lotus Emperor knew that he had lost the upper hand. His face was pale as he said, Lin Ling, you've won. However, I have no grudge against you. What I did just now was for the sake of the deity's rules. It was also for the sake of Green State. His words sounded righteous, but in reality, they were extremely shameless. Hearing that, Lin Ling laughed. His laughter was a little cold. You're right. You wanted to kill us for the sake of Green State. I can understand that. Lin Ling, you're indeed a righteous person. You know how to make the right choice. The Lotus Emperor relaxed. If Lin Ling had allowed the saint to attack him, he wouldn't have ended up well. However, although I can understand you, I'm not a righteous person. On the contrary, I'm a vengeful person. Lin Ling's smirk deepened. He looked at Xing Shiyun and said, Master, this person wanted to kill me. The Lotus Emperor panicked. He knew that Lin Ling wouldn't let him go. Chapter 2989. The outcome had been decided. Senior, this is a matter of Qing State. The fight for the Lotus Thearch's imperial jade seal is unavoidable. The Lotus Thearch roared as he tried to explain himself. He began to retreat. He had already lost the ability to control his ancient powers. He was no match for the sage in a one-on-one battle. I know, I understand, but so what? Xing Shiyun stepped forward slowly and walked toward the Lotus Thearch. Everyone watched as the legendary Lotus Thearch retreated like an ant, begging for mercy. A strange thought rose in their minds. The Qing State Thearch was not as scary as they thought. Everyone turned to look at Lin Ling, and their expressions turned serious. Qing State revered Lin Ling. This was what the Crimson State cultivators had left behind before they left. Now that they saw it, it was indeed so. You can't kill me. I'm the Lotus Thearch. I'm a person who carries the gods' rules. There are still the 9 destined lands near Qing State. Those seniors will save me. The Lotus Thearch panicked. However, his words made Xing Shiyun frown. He seemed to understand the gods' rules, so he did not kill the Lotus Thearch. Although you're no longer the Lotus Thearch of Qing State, you used to be someone the gods valued. Therefore, I won't kill you today. Xing Shiyun stopped in his tracks. The Lotus Thearch heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. It was as if he had taken a stroll outside the gates of hell. When he calmed down, he realized that he was drenched in sweat. However, just because I won't kill you doesn't mean I won't teach you a lesson. However, before the Lotus Thearch could relax, a cold gust of wind appeared in front of him. In the next instant, the sound of a slap was heard. The sound of the slap was like a thunderstorm, and it did not stop. Everyone looked up at the sky. Their expressions were very interesting because they did not know how many slaps the Lotus Thearch had received. When the sound finally stopped, the Lotus Thearch's face was swollen. His eyes were narrowed into slits. It was painful to look at him. Do you admit defeat? Xing Shiyun stood in front of the Lotus Thearch and said calmly. Yes. The Lotus Emperor's face was swollen, and it was extremely difficult for him to speak. Then I'll spare your life. However, Lin Ling is my disciple. If anything happens to him, I'll exterminate your entire clan and the entire Qing province. I hope everyone will remember this. Xing nodded slightly and looked at the entire Green Province. Those words were clearly meant for the entire Qing Province. At this moment, everyone in Qingzhou knew that the next Emperor Qing would definitely be the third princess. On Green Mount Tai, the Empress Dowager was as pale as ashes. She was so scared that her body was trembling. Qing's state had completely changed. If not for Lin Ling, the imperial dynasty would have been wiped out today. If it wasn't for Lin Ling, today, Lin Ling, this great enemy, would have died without a doubt. Without Lin Ling, she would still be the Empress Dowager. However, in the chaos of the universe, everything was subject to change. There were no ifs in anything. Now everything had changed. She, who had once dominated millions of lives, had to think about her own safety. Given the hatred between Lin Ling and her, Lin Ling would definitely kill her. In fact, she had also sensed Lin Ling's cold gaze. It seemed to penetrate the endless clouds and land on Green Mount Tai. At this moment, she was very panicked. This was the first time she had been so panicked since she became the divine empress of Qing Province. However, Lin Ling did not do anything, nor did he ask Xing to kill the Empress Dowager. This was because the Empress Dowager had destroyed the rainforest sacred ground. Lin Ling wanted to take revenge personally. Only then would he be worthy of those who had died. You may leave. Lin Ling's voice floated in the sky. It seemed calm, but it was filled with endless majesty. Thank you. The Lotus Emperor was the first to speak. However, before he left, he also looked deeply at Lin Ling and the third princess. He thought that today was the day to decide everything. He thought that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. He was the real oriole. However, the outcome told him that the world was unpredictable. Moreover, before he left, he saw the murderous eyes of his daughter, the third princess. He knew that the third princess would definitely kill him in the future. And such an enemy, he could only watch as she grew, but he could not kill her. The indescribable feeling was unimaginable. After the Lotus Emperor left, the people of the various magnates also dispersed. However, it was clear that the Imperial Dragon Court, the Blue Flame Army, and the Left Minister's residence were all disbanded. The Imperial Court was the strongest in Qing Province. Lin Ling also walked down with Grandma Wen Dao. Xing followed Lin Ling with a smile. However, blood suddenly gushed out from his throat, but he forcefully swallowed it down. The ancient power is not so easy to deal with. Yes. Although Xing hid it very well, Lin Ling still noticed it. He said with concern, "Yes, the things left behind by the gods are not as simple as they seem. I used all my strength just now, but I only managed to get rid of that power. I was also injured." Xing was surprised by Lin Ling's knowledge, but he still said with a bitter smile. In reality, not all the great emperors of the 9 prefectures were peak experts. What made them fearful was the ancient power. This was also why there were countless experts in the 9 prefectures, but no one dared to provoke the great emperors of the 9 prefectures. This was because the ancient power was also the power that protected the 9 prefectures. After everyone landed, Xing went into seclusion to recover from his injuries. Grandma Wen Dao and the others were still surprised by Xing's strength. They kept asking Lin Ling how he knew such a saint expert. Lin Ling did not hide anything and roughly told them what happened at the Awakening Dragon Palace. "Kid, you are really lucky. As the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend's friend. Even if it is a saint, as long as you can survive with him, he will owe you a favor." Hearing this, Grandma Wen Dao could not help but envy Lin Ling. "Master, if it wasn't for you today, our imperial court would have been in great trouble." The third princess looked at Lin Ling gratefully and said. This made Lin Ling smile and wave his hand. He looked at everyone and said, "Now that the situation in the Green Prefecture has been settled, it is only a matter of time before the third princess becomes the Azure Emperor. Everyone in the imperial court is also a founding figure of the imperial court." Haha, the third princess is going to become the Azure Emperor. Our imperial court is also the most powerful force in the Great Green Divine Dynasty. Hearing this, everyone was incomparably excited and happy. After going through countless ups and downs, they finally won. As for what happens next, it will depend on all of you. I also plan to leave the Green Prefecture. Lin Ling smiled and said again. Although everyone knew that Lin Ling was going to leave, when they heard this, they were still a little reluctant. "Third princess, the Azure Emperor is your enemy. You have to avenge your mother with your own hands. According to the martial arts that I have taught you, you just have to work harder and that day won't be too far away. Lin Ling looked at the third princess and said. Although he had never admitted that the third princess was his disciple, in his heart, she was half a disciple. Chapter 2990. Realm-Swallowing Beast. It was a pity that Wan Er and Yi Zhao's talents were limited, so they couldn't achieve great things. Lin Ling's time was limited, so he rarely taught them. This was Lin Ling's biggest regret. As for his disciples in his previous life, there were quite a few of them. The three of them were still learning martial arts in the fragments of the flame world. Master, I understand. The third princess nodded respectfully to Lin Ling. Second brother, I will leave Qingzhou with you. At this time, Di Shirtian looked at Lin Ling and said. Then he looked at Grandma Wendao and asked for her opinion. Go. Qingzhou is a small temple after all. The outside world is bigger. Grandma Wendao looked at Di Shirtian and said. Di Shirtian was her disciple. When Lin Ling first came to Qingzhou, Di Shirtian had been learning martial arts with her for many years. But, I am a bit worried about Grandma. Hearing this, Di Shirtian's eyes were a bit wet. Don't worry. Su will take care of me. Grandma Wendao smiled kindly. Beside her the cloaked man Su nodded slightly to Di Shirtian. Then Grandma Wendao looked at Lin Ling and said, Lin Ling, outside Qingzhou, the gods rule the world. You two brothers need to take care of each other. Don't worry, Grandma. I will do it even if you don't tell me. Lin Ling nodded heavily. He looked at all the familiar people and remembered their faces. Not long after, Xing Xiun slightly recovered from his injuries. He also walked out. He wanted to take Lin Ling and leave immediately, but Lin Ling refused. He had been fighting and rarely spent time with his family, so he planned to spend this time with his family. After knowing Lin Ling's decision, Xing Xiun didn't stop him. He left first, as if he had something important to do. Before leaving, he left a map of Spirit State and asked Lin Ling to find him when he arrived. Lin Ling also nodded in agreement. The reason he wanted to leave the Azure Prefecture was because with the cultivation resources of the Azure Prefecture, he would need even more time to grow. Therefore, he planned to go to a wider sky. In the following days, Lin Ling accompanied Yu Yu and the others. Although it was peaceful, it was also joyous. At the same time, Lin Ling was also stabilizing his realm. With the help of all the treasures in his possession, his fourth Dantian had reached the second level of the martial immortal realm. However, because of that, he was completely broke. In the past, Li Xiaoyao left many treasures in the fortune manor of the 9 states. With my current strength, I can go and take some of them. Lin Ling thought to himself. However, he was also a little excited when he thought about how he was about to embark on the path of revenge. With his current strength, he was not afraid of ordinary late-stage martial immortals. As for peak martial immortals, although he was no match for them, it would not be easy for them to kill him. As for geniuses with the desolate body, Lin Ling was confident that he could defeat a 4th-level martial immortal. If he used the scabbard, he might even be able to kill a 5th-level martial immortal. The scabbard was currently Lin Ling's most powerful trump card. A sword formed by absorbing the 3 great powers of essence, energy, and spirit was indeed terrifying. In the past, Emperor Qing was an expert of the half-sage realm. However, when faced with that sword, he still had to avoid it. After another 3 months, Lin Ling looked at the sky. He had completely embarked on his journey. On this journey, Sakura was traveling with him. However, when they left the Azure province, Meng Lu also caught up. He planned to travel the 9 states with Lin Ling. Lin Ling was clear about Meng Lu's origin. Therefore, he was not surprised that Meng Lu joined them. On the contrary, Sakura was puzzled. Meng Lu, you're so weak, yet you still want to leave the Azure province. Brother, I have to admire your courage. Sakura, you're not much stronger than me. Hearing that, Meng Lu's face instantly turned ugly. Haha, I like you. You're not strong but you never admit defeat. Bullshit. Bullshit. Aren't you the same? Bullshit. Meng Lu was stunned for a moment. Then he also laughed loudly. The 3 of them traveled through the void. Lin Ling checked the map and finally walked in the direction of the east border. From there they could go straight to the Spirit Province. Spirit Province? I wonder how strong the cultivators are. How are they compared to the Azure Province? Yes. Sakura appeared to be very excited. The Spirit Province is ranked 4th in the 9 states. The cultivators there are thousands of times stronger than the Azure Province. Before Linling could speak, Meng Lu spoke first. That's great. In the Azure Province, we're the strongest cultivators below the giants. If the Spirit Province is the same as the Azure Province, then it's too boring. Second brother, let's speed up. It's best if we reach the Spirit Province tomorrow. Sakura brandished his fists and strode forward in large strides. Linling shook his head and smiled. Brother, the 9 states is very vast. We can't reach the Spirit Province in a day. I'm afraid it'll be difficult even in 3 months. Yes. So far. Yes. Sakura stopped in his tracks in disbelief. What do you think? The 9 states in the universe is the oldest continent in the 10,000 worlds. It's so big that other than the gods, no one has ever traveled through the 9 states. Linling looked at the pitch-black void and said with some nostalgia. In the past, Li Xiaoyao also didn't travel through the 9 states. This was a pity, but Linling believed that he would definitely be able to travel through the 9 states in this lifetime. Linling, you've only been to the Crimson Province, right? Why do I feel like you're very familiar with the 9 states? Wow! Meng Lu looked at Linling in surprise. Although Linling always gave him a mysterious feeling, Linling was familiar with the 9 states. It was impossible for him not to be surprised. I read a lot of books, so of course I'm familiar with it. Wow! Linling replied indifferently. His eyes suddenly looked forward and warned. There are fluctuations in the void ahead. I'm afraid some trouble has appeared. Brother, be careful. Heh. Heh. I just left the Azure Province and I'm already a strong cultivator? My blood is also boiling. Heh. Hearing this, Sakura was not afraid. Instead, his fighting spirit surged. This fighting spirit also infected Linling. It made Linling think of the days when he was fighting in the 9 states. After leaving the Azure Province, he felt like his whole body was dripping with energy. He felt like a bird flying in the sky, free and unfettered for the rest of his life. Something's not right. Why do I feel like I've entered another void? Linling, what's going on? Heh. Compared to Sakura and Linling's boldness, Meng Lu was more cautious. Linling's soul power spread out and he suddenly laughed. Brothers, we've entered the mouth of the realm-swallowing beast. Ha ha ha, we're going to be swallowed. Heh. Realm-swallowing beast? My god, Linling, you can still laugh. Heh. Hearing this, Meng Lu's pupils trembled. Who in the 9 states didn't know the name of the realm-swallowing beast? This terrifying thing could swallow anything. Even the realm couldn't escape its mouth. Haha, this is so exciting. Are we going to die? Sakura's mouth was trembling. This guy was excited and panicked. He was indeed a battle maniac. Chapter 2991. Dragon's Tooth Tongue. Linling immediately laughed and scolded. Do you think it will listen to me? Who knows, it might be here to devour me. What do we do now? Hearing this, Meng Lu roared and panicked even more. Run! Linling had already taken the lead to escape to the other side. This caused Dream Flow and the others to be stunned, and they quickly gave chase. Haha, so exciting! Behind Meng Lu, Sakura was still roaring, as if he was looking forward to the future adventure. Lunatic! Dream Flow could not help rolling his eyes. He was about to die, yet this guy could still laugh. Then he glanced at Linling, and saw that Linling was also smiling. This caused him to slap his forehead helplessly. These two brothers are crazy. Rumble! In the sky in front of them, the giant mouth began to close. The entire universe was disappearing, and Linling and the other two were wrapped in the giant mouth. They had to escape from this dangerous situation before the mouth completely closed. This was the realm-swallowing beast. Its appearance was unpredictable and unpredictable. By the time the martial artists discovered it, it was already too late. Most of them ended up being devoured. Use your full strength. In front of him, Linling let out a roar. The scabbard appeared, and he pulled out his strongest demonic sword. That sword light seemed to illuminate the entire void. Copper Wind Coffin Opening. Seeing this, Meng Lu's expression turned solemn, and he unleashed his powerful innate talent. Haha, you can't leave me out. Sakura roared and transformed into a white bone giant. with a halberd in his hand. He also attacked. With the three of them working together, their power was indeed terrifying. They actually froze the mouth in place. In the next moment, the three of them rushed out of the huge mouth and escaped with their lives. Looking back, the giant mouth behind him began to close, and finally disappeared without a trace. However, Meng Lu was still trembling with fear. His handsome face was full of solemnity. Well, don't worry, that thing ran away. Lin Ling, on the other hand, smiled and appeared to be at ease. Phew! Hearing this, Meng Lu let out a sigh of relief. After he relaxed, he realized that his entire body was drenched in cold sweat. When he looked at Lin Ling and Sakura again, he was instantly speechless. These two fellows had a carefree expression as they began to chat cheerfully and wittily. Did they understand what kind of situation they were in before? These two perverts. However, it should be a monster. Let's go. Lin Ling had no idea what Meng Lu was thinking. He looked into the distance, smiled faintly, and continued on his journey. Although they had narrowly escaped death before, Lin Ling had an intuition that they would definitely be able to escape that disaster. Therefore, he wasn't worried. Instead, he enjoyed the feeling of approaching death. And this was only the danger they encountered right after leaving Qing Province. Who knew what kind of challenges they would encounter in Spirit Province? After a long journey, Lin Ling and the other two's realms had become even more solid. Among them, Lin Ling's Dantian's boundary yuan had also become much more condensed and thick. A continent began to appear in front of them. It was like a dragon. We've arrived at Spirit Province? Sakura's eyes suddenly lit up. During these days, they had traveled along the east border and had also gone to many realms. They experienced the characteristics of those realms, which made the journey less boring. Tesveske, a continent floating in the void of the universe, but it's not a realm. What a spectacle! Meng Lu clicked his tongue in wonder because the continent in front of them seemed to be formed by countless gravel. They couldn't see the end of it, and it meandered like a dragon. That's the dragon's tongue Fong. Lin Ling looked at the map and said, "It's not Spirit Province, but it's the only way to pass through Spirit Province. It means that we're getting closer and closer." Haha, that's good. Spirit Province. Wait for me. Our three great prodigies of Qing Province are here. Sakura laughed loudly and took the lead to shoot toward the continent in front of them. Lin Ling and Meng Lu looked at each other and hurriedly followed suit. The meandering beach-like continent looked like a dragon from afar. Only when they arrived did they realize that it was extremely majestic. It wasn't smaller than Qing Province, and it was filled with plants that soared into the sky. The roars of divine beasts could be heard from time to time. The moment they landed on the ground, Lin Ling and the others felt the rolling pressure. Lin Ling and the others walked slowly in a direction. However, not long after, Lin Ling suddenly stopped in his tracks and revealed an excited smile. Our luck isn't bad. We actually encountered the wild grass of Celestial Firestar. Not far away, a plant with sword-like leaves was quietly planted on the ground. The leaves were fiery red and exuded a domineering aura. Sakura and the others even saw unknown demonic beasts that approached the plant and were instantly sliced into pieces. This is a spirit herb that's extremely helpful to fire elemental talents. Lin Ling took a big step forward and walked towards the spirit grass excitedly. Lin Ling, be careful. Meng Lu had never seen such a divine herb before and couldn't help but remind him worriedly. It's fine. Although these herbs are powerful, they don't cause much harm to fire elemental cultivators. Instead, they can increase my talent. It seems that this dragon tongue Fong should be a paradise for spirit herbs. Lin Ling replied. However, just as he was about to collect it, several laughter suddenly rang out. Waha, the wild grass of Celestial Firestar. If it were placed in an auction, it would be a treasure worth 5 million royal crystals. We're rich. We've encountered some trash during this period of time. Now, we finally have a big harvest. Big brother, I've taken a fancy to that extreme weapon. This time, I have the money to buy it. 3 figures walked out of the forest and were extremely excited. The 3 cultivators had bald heads and bulky figures. They were wearing the same outfit, and their cultivations were all in the 6th layer martial immortal realm. They ignored Lin Ling and the others as soon as they appeared, and stared at the stalk of grass greedily. Next, they didn't say anything and directly wanted to pick it. One of the fire elemental cultivators reached out his hand and wanted to hold the wild grass of Celestial Firestar in his hand. However, before his hand touched the grass, an arm moved faster than him and landed on the wild grass of Celestial Fire Star. Then it fiercely pulled. Such an unforeseen event caused the three of them to narrow their eyes. In fact, they had already seen Lin Ling and the others. However, when they saw that they were at the initial stage of the martial immortal realm, they ignored them. However, they didn't expect the three of them to be so insensible. Not only did they not leave, but they even took the initiative to snatch the spirit herb. Do you know what you're holding? One of the bald men raised his cold eyes and looked indifferently at Lin Ling and said, "We'll give you a chance to explain." "Say it. Why are you so stupid? You're courting death at such a young age. If you explain well, we'll spare your lives." The other two spoke one after another and their faces were as gloomy as water. At that moment, Lin Ling slowly collected the wild grass of Celestial Fire Star and looked at the three brothers with a faint smile. He looked very calm. "Don't think that we'll show mercy just because you're being polite." Chapter 2992. Fairy Lu. "Then I'll give you an explanation." Lin Ling was still smiling, but at the same time he punched out, "If you don't want to die, scram." Rumble. That punch contained the power of the realm-devouring beast and the roar of the dragon god. The man closest to Lin Ling changed his expression and anxiously tried to block, but it was obviously useless. He was sent flying by the punch and broke countless trees. The other two were dumbfounded. Even the bald man's head was shining, as if he did not expect the little guy in front of him to be so fierce. "We three brothers will give you a chance to explain." At the same time, Indra and Meng Lu walked over with cold faces. Although their cultivation levels were not high, they were the three strongest geniuses in Qingzhou. Ordinary middle-stage martial immortals were nothing in their eyes. "Fuck, we've kicked an iron plate. 3 big shots. Please spare our lives." The two bald men's mouths trembled, and they knelt down directly. This kind of change made Sakura and the others very unhappy, because after leaving the Azure province, they all wanted to see the strong practitioners of the 9 provinces. However, these 3 bald burly men, although they looked tall and sturdy, they were only good for looking but useless. As the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling person. Since they had knelt down and begged for mercy, Lin Ling and the other two did not bother to attack anymore. 3 big shots. Please spare our lives." The 2 men were still kneeling on the ground with bitter smiles on their faces. "Who are you? What's around here?" Lin Ling shook his head and asked. "We're rogue cultivators looking for treasures here. There's a huge city nearby called Dragon Tooth City. It's a lawless area, and the treasures we find are sold there. Moreover, there are many things we can buy there." The 2 men said at the same time. "Get up, tell us the direction, and then go by yourselves." "It's hard to say, but we're going back to the city. If you don't mind, I'm willing to lead the way." Hearing this, Lin Ling glanced at Sakura and Lin Ling seeing them nod, Lin Ling also agreed. Although they were in an unfamiliar place and shouldn't trust anyone, the 3 of them weren't very strong. Therefore, Lin Ling wasn't afraid of them playing any tricks. 3 big shots. Follow me." In the distance, the bald man who had been sent flying also walked back with a bitter smile on his face. After that, the 3 of them led the way while Lin Ling's group of 3 followed behind them. However, along the way, Lin Ling finally understood why these 3 fellows were so easy to talk to. It was because the demon beasts in the forest were extremely formidable, and the 3 of them were utterly unable to deal with them. In the past, they could only take a detour when they encountered them, but with the addition of Lin Ling's group of 3, their journey would definitely be much simpler. Therefore, along the way, Lin Ling's group of 3 also collected quite a lot of spirit herbs and treasures. These treasures could not be found in Qing province at all. This made Lin Ling smile excitedly. She's here, Fairy Lu is here." After walking for an unknown period of time, when they gradually approached the huge city, a large open space appeared in the dense forest. There were scattered inns, and many individual cultivators were resting in them. Presumably, this was a kind of relay station for adventurers to rest. Lin Ling's group walked in, slightly curious. The legendary Fairy Lu. At this moment, in the open space, a large number of individual cultivators stood up, and their emotions were slightly excited. "Fairy Lu." Sakura frowned immediately. "Look at how excited these fellows are. I'm afraid that a real fairy has arrived. I wonder how she compares to the 3rd princess." Meng Lu was also curious. At this moment, the cry of a crane came from afar. Then, a white palace arrived in a grandiose manner. Wherever it passed, petals floated in the sky, and a fragrance filled the air. Around the palace, there were several women wearing long white dresses and veils covering their faces, guarding the palace. So beautiful. Legend has it that Fairy Lu is the #1 beauty in Dragon Teeth City. No one has ever seen her. I wonder if we'll be so lucky. She's coming out. Everyone, look. As the crowd discussed, a woman in a purple dress walked out of the palace. Although she also wore a veil on her face, her figure was tall, her breasts were full, and her buttocks were perky. Just her delicate figure alone was enough to make people daydream. It was hard to imagine how devastatingly beautiful she was under the veil. Don't stop me, I want to see too. Tisk tsk, the best in the world. I didn't live in vain. The rogue cultivators in the surroundings became agitated and clamored like animals. However, the woman in the purple dress was silent, as if she was used to the feeling of being surrounded by stars. What a bunch of beasts. It's just a woman. Is there a need to be so impulsive? I really feel disdain, Sakura said sarcastically from behind the crowd. However, his eyes kept looking forward, but unfortunately, his line of sight was blocked by the crowd. He simply grabbed the people in front of him and pushed them back one by one, squeezing out of the crowd. This guy. Meng Lu was tongue-tied. Sakura obviously also wanted to see the beauty, but he actually mocked others before? His skin was too thick. Even Lin Ling shook his head helplessly and followed Sakura out of the crowd. However, when the woman in the purple dress appeared in front of him, he also felt a sense of amazement. He was very curious about what kind of face was under the veil. Fairy Lu. Legend has it that she's the reincarnation of 100 flowers. Once she was born, her fragrance was overflowing. Fairy Lu of the Heavenly Court. Tazi, a blessed girl. The individual cultivators around were still drooling. Their words also made Lin Ling's eyes narrow. Fairy Lu of the Heavenly Court? The corner of his mouth immediately revealed an evil smile. With a flick of his finger, powerful realm essence turned into a gust of wind and blew out. Whoosh! The gust of wind came without warning. The woman in the purple dress was still enjoying the gazes around her and didn't react at all. The veil was blown away in an instant. This time, everyone's eyes widened, and they were so excited that their bodies trembled. This gust of wind came at the right time. The name of Fairy Lu, they finally had the chance to see her true face. However, after the veil was blown away, a face that would make people vomit for 3 days and 3 nights appeared. It was a face with an upturned nose, a face full of acne, and a pair of dead fish eyes. If such a face was placed on an ordinary person, they would vomit upon seeing it, let alone Fairy Lu. The crowd was dead silent. Blarg. Next, all the individual cultivators vomited one after another. Fuck, this is Fairy Lu? Meng Lu, your dream lover is really too beautiful. You can even swallow such a heavy taste. I admire you. Sakura couldn't help but roar loudly. Sakura, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I say she's my dream lover? If you're talking nonsense, I'll kill you. Meng Lu was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, jumping up and down. Even Lin Ling was astonished. Previously, when he heard that the latter was from the Heavenly Court, he had an evil thought because the Heavenly Court was his great enemy. However, he didn't expect that Fairy Lu had the most beautiful body, but her appearance was so shameful. At this moment, Fairy Lu was stunned. Previously, when she came out of the palace, she didn't leave immediately because she wanted to enjoy the sentimental gazes of everyone, and she also liked this kind of gaze. This made her feel that she was the most beautiful woman in the world. Chapter 2993. Kill him. Who is it? After being stunned for a moment, Fairy Lu let out a sharp voice. Fuck, this voice is like a pig being slaughtered. All the rogue cultivators were stunned. They all covered their ears and vomited again. This was because they also saw that when Fairy Lu spoke, she actually revealed her extremely yellow front teeth. The shocked expressions of the rogue cultivators made Fairy Lu's face as ugly as a pig's liver. Miss, it's him. At this moment, the few palace maids beside Fairy Lu also looked at Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling's methods were hidden, everyone looked at Fairy Lu with admiration at that time. Only Lin Ling was indifferent. Therefore it was easy for others to see through it. Kill him and pull out his bones. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. Fairy Lu was stunned for a moment and then looked at Lin Ling sinisterly. In her opinion, a mere rogue cultivator had embarrassed her so much. What was the use of not dying? Lin Ling instantly frowned when he heard this. Sakura and the others were the same as well. Because Fairy Lu had merely revealed her true appearance, yet she wanted to kill them and even viciously wanted to pull out their tendons and bones. Wasn't this method a bit too cruel? Even the surrounding rogue cultivators felt the same. Fairy Lu had embarrassed herself, so she wanted to kill him out of anger? Fairy Lu. This person is young and doesn't know anything. He was just curious about Fairy Lu's appearance, so he attacked. But this doesn't need to kill him. An old man couldn't help but say, "Go to hell." Fairy Lu didn't listen to the old man at all. A jade trident appeared in her hand and she waved it at the old man. Whoosh! A dark green light shot out, and the gloomy cold air caused the surrounding area to become cold and icy. The old man's pupils constricted. He never thought that because he tried to persuade her, she would also want to kill him. He hurriedly activated his realm essence and let endless electric snakes wrap around his body, forming a large electric net. This old man's realm was not low. He was at the 6th level of the martial immortal realm. However, when the green light rushed into the electric net, it didn't slow down at all. Instead, it absorbed the power of the lightning and instantly reached the old man's eyes. The old man's expression changed greatly. He knew that he was going to die. You killed me just because I said something? This is Fairy Lu. However, right at this moment, an arm seemed to have appeared out of thin air, and it suddenly grabbed onto the jade green light, causing the jade trident to reveal its true form and be unable to move forward at all. Sir, thank you. The old man's eyes trembled, and then he reacted because the person who had saved him was actually the blue-robed young man. Previously he couldn't stand it, so he spoke up for the blue-robed young man. Moreover, the blue-robed young man had saved him when he was close to death. This made him feel extremely grateful. Ignorant Junior, let's see if you can stop my clear jade orange whale. Fairy Lu let out a cold snort and activated her realm origin, causing the jade fork to shine even brighter. The originally frozen jade fork shot out once more. Extreme weapon. This is definitely an extreme weapon. Seeing this, everyone's hearts thundered. They knew that the jade trident was a valuable treasure. I can't hold on any longer. Then, many people looked at Lin Ling and said. They also knew that Lin Ling was only at the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm. With such a cultivation, it was impossible for him to block the attack of an extreme weapon. Break for me. However, right at this moment, Lin Ling coldly spat out a voice. There was a dragon's roar in his dantian, and his dragon bones also made cracking sounds. After fusing with the power of the realm-devouring beast, Lin Ling's arm immediately appeared with an ancient power, and he suddenly clenched his fist. Ka! The sparkling jade fork was immediately crushed by Lin Ling. Then, he let go of his hand, and the sparkling fragments scattered on the ground, causing the surroundings to suddenly become silent. Fairy Lu's pupils constricted. This damnable young man had actually broken through her treasure? Fairy Lu, with such a temperament, you actually have the nerve to call yourself a fairy. Waving his hand to scatter the jade fork fragments, Lin Ling looked at Fairy Lu with a cold smile and said. His words caused Fairy Lu's expression to turn even colder. Sir, you were rude first, and now you've even destroyed Fairy Lu's treasure. Don't you think you've gone too far? Right at this moment, a calm voice was heard. Then, a young man wearing a blue and white robe slowly walked over from afar. This person's aura was extremely extraordinary, making it hard for people to forget him with a single glance. Behind him were several experts, all of whom were in the late stage of the martial immortal realm. Their auras were extremely dense, and it was obvious that they had a powerful background. Young Master Bailey Yenwu. When the young man walked over, there were already cries of surprise coming from all around. That was because the latter's reputation in Dragon Tooth City was not small. He was a member of the Bailey clan, and this Bailey clan was said to be from the Divine Prefecture, which was even more powerful than the Spirit Province. This also caused the Bailey clan to be a powerful force in the nearby area that no one dared to provoke. I was rude first. Perhaps you're right, but just because of that, she can easily take people's lives. Lin Ling stared at the blue and white robed young man and said, Moreover, this Fairy Lu hid her true appearance. In reality, She was enjoying the admiring gazes. However, because her mask was torn off, she became angry out of embarrassment. But then again, this Fairy Lu's appearance is clearly not very good, but she likes the feeling of being surrounded by stars. That's a bit ironic. After his words left his mouth, the surrounding people all secretly laughed. This Fairy Lu still had the nerve to say that she was the reincarnation of the 100-Flower Fairy. Now, it seemed that it was just a fart. Perhaps this is the mischief of ugly people. Ha ha. Tion also laughed loudly as he spoke. I'll kill all of you. Ha ha. When Fairy Lu saw that Lin Ling still dared to humiliate her, her ugly face was immediately filled with malevolence. As for Bailey Yenwu, his eyes kept flickering, but this time, he did not say anything. Evidently, he also thought that Fairy Lu's actions were too unsightly. She was clearly ugly, but she insisted on pretending that she was some sort of fairy. Now that she was forced to reveal her true appearance, she had truly lost a lot of face. In reality, he had always thought that Fairy Lu had the power to cause the fall of a city. He had even almost asked his father to go and ask for her hand in marriage. Fortunately, he had seen Fairy Lu's appearance today. I'll kill all of you. Ha ha. At this moment, Fairy Lu was both embarrassed and angry. She let out a furious roar. Her appearance was no longer that of a woman, but that of a monster. Seeing this, Bailey Yenwu gave a signal with his eyes. Immediately, the experts behind him attacked and pounced at Lin Ling. Black clouds instantly enveloped the entire sky. Within the clouds, a ray of light shot out like a bolt of lightning. This person's strength was at the 7th level of the martial immortal realm. Even in the surrounding area, he was definitely an expert. You can't kill us. Yes. However, Lin Ling's gaze was still calm. With his hands behind his back, he did not move at all. Lin Ling, let me. Yes. Chapter 2994. An Encirclement. You're courting death. Humph. The expert snorted in disdain, not taking Meng Lu seriously at all. Boom. He slapped his palm out, thinking that he would be able to smash Meng Lu into pieces. However, in the next moment, a terrifying sense of danger arose spontaneously. Oh no! Humph! He cried out in alarm and wanted to retreat quickly, but it was already too late. When he came into contact with the dream stream, his soul was taken out. This young man is so powerful. People saw that the expert kept retreating, but a strand of his soul was forcefully pulled out. It was terrifying. Even Bailey Yenwu's eyes narrowed. Previously, he felt that Lin Ling and the other two were extraordinary, so he did not act rashly. Now that he saw it, it was indeed so. Meng Lu return his soul. Humph. At this moment, Lin Ling said indifferently. Although Bailey Yenwu attacked him, he could see that it was more of a test. Moreover, he had just arrived, so Lin Ling did not intend to cause any trouble. Okay. Humph. Meng Lu nodded coldly and played with the soul in his hand. Then, he lightly waved his hand, and the soul disappeared into the expert's body as if it had entered water. The expert gradually recovered, but his face was extremely pale, and his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Meng Lu. Now, is there anything else? Humph. Lin Ling ignored the gazes around him and spoke again. Although he had an irreconcilable enmity with the Heavenly Court, his target was the Heavenly Court's martial god Qilin, not all of the Heavenly Court's members. Therefore, he did not intend to kill all of the Heavenly Court's members. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you have some ability. Humph. Fairy Lu seemed to be unwilling, but after she spoke, Bailey Yenwu smiled faintly. Since it's a misunderstanding, how about we shake hands and make peace? Humph. As you wish, I don't want to waste time here. Let's shake hands and make peace. From now on, don't mention what happened today again. Let's write it off. Humph. Lin Ling nodded and agreed. Humph. You aren't from the spirit state, right? It's been a long time since a genius like you appeared spirit. Seeing Lin Ling nod his head, Bailey Yenwu also cupped his fists and bowed to Lin Ling, giving others the impression that he was very easy to talk to. Goodbye. Lin Ling didn't say anything and left with Meng Lu and Meng Lu. Watching them leave in such a carefree manner, the eyes of the surrounding rogue cultivators flickered. They didn't expect that after provoking the Heavenly Court, the three of them could actually leave safely. However, although the three of them were young, their strength seemed to be very strong. I can't accept this. I want to kill them. Fairy Lu looked at the backs of Lin Ling and the other two with a venomous gaze, as if she was still unwilling to give up. Fairy Lu, these three aren't weak. If a conflict erupted before, the ones who would suffer would be us. That's why the reinforcements plan is even better. Bailey Yenwu shook his head. His tranquil eyes turned ice-cold as well. They're that strong? Fairy Lu seemed to be in disbelief. Very strong. I'm afraid there aren't many people here who can match them. Bailey Yenwu nodded. Therefore, let them leave for the time being. They can't go far. Well, they must die. Fairy Lu immediately nodded coldly. Today, she had suffered the greatest humiliation in her life, so how could she forgive Lin Ling and the other two? At this moment, Lin Ling and the other two were walking along the dense forest. Thinking of what had happened before, they laughed loudly. Second brother, your methods are still the best. If it weren't for you, I would have been deceived by the name of a fairy. When Indra thought of the ugly Fairy Lu, his body trembled subconsciously. However, we've also offended that Fairy Lu. Their background seems to be a bit complicated. Meng Lu said worriedly. The area around the Spirit Province wasn't like the Qing Province. Sometimes, even a powerful dragon couldn't defeat a local snake. Fairy Lu's background is the Heavenly Court. The Heavenly Court and I have an irreconcilable enmity. So what if we've offended them? Lin Ling shook his head and said. His words made Indra and Meng Lu come to a realization. No wonder Lin Ling had interrupted Fairy Lu's pride. So that's why. But fortunately, the young man who came later spoke up, and this matter was settled. It's better to have less trouble. Meng Lu said again, now, let's hurry to the Spirit Province. The three of them headed towards the Dragon Tooth City. That was the path to the Qing Province. However, after walking for half a day, Lin Ling's eyes frowned slightly. His soul power was powerful, and he seemed to have sensed a prying feeling. Although the feeling was faint, Lin Ling believed in his soul power. Hurry up, someone's following us. Lin Ling couldn't help but look deeply behind him, and then said to Indra and Meng Lu. His words made their expressions change slightly, but they also believed in Lin Ling's words. The three of them passed through the dense forest, and their speed was extremely fast. Moreover, they didn't burst out with 10 realms speed because they didn't know what would happen at the moment. So, if they were to panic, it would be even worse. However, as time passed, the prying feeling was noticed even by Meng Lu. This was because the other party was no longer secretly following them, but directly chasing them. There were quite a number of people. When the three of them rushed out of the forest and arrived at a huge river, several figures in black cloaks had already appeared in front of them. They seemed to be hiding in the night, and also seemed to have been waiting for Lin Ling and the others. They were all 8th level martial immortals, and there were even 9th level martial immortals. Behind them, more and more experts arrived one after another and surrounded the three of them. All of them floated in the sky like death gods. Such fast speed, and none of these people are 7th level martial immortals. Lin Ling's gaze swept across the surroundings, and his expression gradually turned solemn. Now, all their paths of escape had been sealed. Splash! The ancient river in front of them emitted dazzling light, and looked extremely extraordinary. However, more and more people appeared at the side of the heavenly river. We've just arrived here, so we shouldn't have offended any experts. Indra frowned and said. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. At the same time, Lin Ling and Meng Lu were the same. They had obviously guessed the other party's background. They were most likely people that Fairy Lu had called over. Young master is here to kill you. However, while Lin Ling and the others were guessing, a cold voice appeared above the heavenly river. It was hoarse and icy. Lin Ling and the others came to a realization. Young master? It must be that Bailey Yenwu. This guy had said that the matter had been settled, but he had gone back on his words. Previously, Bailey Yenwu did not have many people. If we were to fight him, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Therefore, he used the plan of sending reinforcements to let us leave first. In fact, as soon as we left, he had already invited more experts. Lin Ling's eyes immediately flickered with murderous intent. Bailey Yenwu had lied to them. He was obviously a person who hid a knife behind a smile. Lin Ling hated people like him the most. Chapter 2995. Break out of the encirclement. break out of the encirclement. If they continued to waste time, it would only make the situation worse. Thus, Lin Ling whispered to Sakura and Meng Hao. Okay, go that way. Sakura nodded. He turned into a skeleton and attacked in one direction. The surrounding people were stunned. They didn't speak, but they all erupted with their full strength, wanting to stop Lin Ling's group from breaking out of the encirclement. This was because if Lin Ling's group was surrounded, no matter how strong they wouldn't be able to fight against a sea of people. Sooner or later, they would be obliterated in the waters of the Heavenly River. This was also the reason why they weren't in a hurry before. They wanted Lin Ling's group to panic. If that happened, it would be easier for them to deal with Lin Ling's group. You want to run. Seeing Sakura rush over, a martial artist coldly spat out a sentence. He urged the power of his world essence to surge. The power of the universe was extremely strong, reaching 70%. Sakura, I'm helping you. Meng Hao chased after Sakura, also erupting with the power of the demon god's tomb, causing the nearby area to turn pitch black. It's useless. An old man shook his head. He stretched out his 5 fingers, his fingers ferocious. They were like withered trees entwined in myriad worlds as they attacked Sakura. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Sakura and Meng Hao immediately joined forces and urged out a powerful attack, instantly destroying the old man's attack. However, the old man sneered. He didn't continue to fight with Sakura and Meng Hao. He stepped back and retreated. As soon as he stepped down, someone else immediately took his place. It's useless. The new powerhouse even said indifferently, his words mixed with disdain. Lin Ling was at the back. At this moment, a large number of powerhouses rushed over, surrounding him and wanting to nibble away at Lin Ling's group. Demon God Body. Lin Ling's pupils were extremely cold. Seeing that Sakura and the rest were obstructed in their attempt to break through, he could only temporarily block the people behind him. He stopped in his tracks, and his powerful corporeal body transformed into a fist, rolling towards the people behind him. It's useless. He was a 9th-level martial immortal. At this moment, he condensed his realm essence into a finger and shot it towards Lin Ling at the speed of 25 worlds. Bearing Cloud Demon Finger. This finger contained 100% of the power of the universe. It was terrifying. Behind that person, the others slowed down their pace and walked over expressionlessly. In their opinion, although that young man was powerful, he was definitely not a match for a 9th-level martial immortal. That finger should have been able to take the youth's life. Rumble. Fist and finger collided, and a deafening sound rang out. The expression of the expert who attacked instantly changed, because although Lin Ling's punch looked ordinary, its power was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, Jie Yuan gave him the feeling that he was not much weaker than him. Crack. His finger broke in the next moment. This caused the expressions of the people behind Lin Ling to change drastically. However, the powerhouse who attacked was truly experienced in battle. He took a step back and dodged Lin Ling's attack. Just as he retreated, another powerhouse immediately took his place. Attrition warfare. Lin Ling looked ahead and had a guess in his heart. If it wasn't for the help of others, he was confident that he could kill that powerhouse in 3 moves. What a pity. There were too many people surrounding them. It's useless. The powerhouse who broke his finger stood in the sky and shook his head lightly. That's not necessarily true. Lin Ling was like a hot knife through butter. He fused his 4 dantians, the dragon god Dantian, the dragon bone, the realm-swallowing beast's talent, and the space-time divine steel. He was like a sword that soared into the sky. As for the newcomer, his expression changed slightly. This person who was bound to die was so tenacious. 8,000 Buddhist flowers. He activated his strongest martial arts, causing the Buddhist sound to fill the sky and golden flowers to bloom. However, Lin Ling's attack was already at the peak of his strength. Therefore, after the collision, the golden flowers exploded one after another. Moreover, there was a fist that smashed towards the powerhouse. This caused the powerhouse's expression to change again. He knew that this young man was definitely the strongest of the 3. If it was a one-on-one battle, he was definitely not the young man's match. Fortunately, he was not the only one who came to kill the young man today. He quickly retreated, and immediately, a new person took his place. This is a genius. If he grows up, his future will be limitless. However, we will not let him grow. The newcomer said indifferently at this moment.
He guessed that the young man must be very helpless and unwilling because he was clearly so strong, but he had encountered a round-robin battle. Moreover, he had encountered a well-organized encirclement.
However, just as he thought that Lin Ling would attack him, a sudden change occurred.
Lin Ling's speed of rushing towards him suddenly stopped.
Instead, he shot into the distance to help Sakura and Meng Lu. Such a change immediately stunned those experts.
Then they became furious, as if they had been toyed with.
"You guys can't escape," someone said in a cold voice. At this moment, Sakura and Meng Lu were still working together, trying to break out of the encirclement. Both of them were powerful geniuses of Qingzhou. When they worked together, they were indeed terrifying. However, the other party continued to fight them in a round-robin battle. This caused Sakura and Meng Lu to still be unable to open a gap.
"Big brother, attack them with all your strength."
At this moment, Lin Ling's voice sounded out, and it was mixed with a wisp of anxiousness. "All right."
Sakura and Meng Lu glanced at each other and nodded.
Because if they continued fighting, they would be tired, and their realm essence would be exhausted. Moreover, the other party had successively sent people to help them. This would be disadvantageous to them. So, they had to open a gap immediately. Both of them activated powerful martial techniques, causing the sky to shatter. Ferocious realm essence energy blasted out in all directions. In the vast forest, the scattered independent cultivators' expressions changed slightly. Moreover, they looked into the distance.
They knew that a fierce battle had occurred there. It should be those three young men.
Someone sighed. They had a feeling about this since long ago. Because the Lu family from the Heavenly Court and the Bailey family from Dragontooth City would definitely not let those three people go. Young Master Bailey's words from before were actually just to deceive those three people. At this moment, they didn't think that Lin Ling's group could break out of the encirclement. Rumble. The deafening sound continued to resound. Life and death would be decided at this moment. Sakura and Meng Lu's joint attack instantly increased the pressure on the strong cultivators at the front. However, they still gritted their teeth and endured it. "It's useless."
It was to the extent that those lightly injured cultivators even said indifferently as they retreated,
"Die." At this moment, a voice that sounded like it came from the depths of hell sounded out. This time, they obviously couldn't retreat. Because after Sakura and Meng Lu's attack, it was Lin Ling's attack next. The three of them joined forces and forcefully broke out of the encirclement with their domineering strength. Lin Ling was the last to attack. His attack was a sword from his scabbard. The fusion of essence, energy, and spirit, the three great powers, gathered all of their killing intent into one sword. It was as if there was only one sword in the sky and earth, a sword of killing that could destroy everything. Chapter 2996. An arrow at the end of its flight. In the next moment, the cultivators in front of them were all frozen in place. Their faces were filled with panic, and their previous indifference was nowhere to be seen. However, after the sword passed by, they were all frozen in place. Lin Ling and the other two quickly passed by them, causing the experts behind them to shout, "Stop them, what are you doing?" However, just as their voices fell, the experts who were frozen in place were all smashed into the heavenly river, and their heads were all cut off. This terrifying scene caused the hearts of the experts behind them to tremble. Killing a late-stage martial immortal expert with a single sword, and not just one. The strength of these three people was indeed terrifying. However, they couldn't let them leave. "Chase after them." Someone let out a ferocious voice. This was an expert at the 10th level of the martial immortal realm. At this moment, he was also chasing after them. They opened the encirclement, but they also used up all their realm essence. They are at their weakest now. Kill them. The Bailey family and the Lu family will reward you handsomely. Crazy voices also floated out at this moment. "We just came to the Spirit Province, but even peak martial immortal experts are chasing after us. The Bailey family and the Lu family really think highly of us." Lin Ling, Sakura, and the other two quickly rushed forward, and their faces were extremely cold. Although life and death were close, the three of them were people who had been through ups and downs. This kind of pursuit wouldn't cause them to lose the ability to fight. "Second brother, if this continues, we will be caught sooner or later." Sakura looked back and said with a frown. There were many experts behind them, and many of them hadn't attacked yet. In order to open the encirclement, they had used up a lot of realm essence and power. If this continued, it would be disadvantageous for them.
Go down the river.
Lin Ling also knew this. He looked around and finally, his gaze landed on the rolling heavenly river. This huge river seemed to be somewhat extraordinary. He hoped that he could use the geographical advantage to escape from this group of people. Sakura and Meng Lu nodded and rushed down into the rolling heavenly river. Trying to escape? The powerful cultivators behind them roared. Their prey was already within sight. How could they let them escape? Lin Ling was the last to reach the heavenly river. However, he floated in the sky and stopped. His emotionless eyes stared at the countless experts behind him. That gaze was very cold, but for some reason, it made the powerhouses feel a little panic in their hearts. Especially when they recalled the young man's sword strike from before, their expressions became solemn. There's no need to fear him. That sword can only be used once. Suddenly, a sinister voice rang out, causing the gazes of the experts to gradually turn ice-cold. That's right, a third-level martial immortal definitely wouldn't be able to execute a second sword strike of such a terrifying level. However, just as they were about to move, Lin Ling's arm had already touched the scabbard once again. This action undoubtedly caused everyone to panic. Although the young man was an arrow at the end of its flight, they didn't want to be buried with the young man. However, while they were being serious, Lin Ling didn't say a word. He immediately rushed down the surging heavenly river. Oh no, we've been tricked. They're like candles in the wind. How can they still fight? Everyone was stunned for a moment before they reacted one after another. Moreover, they were all furious. Because with their strength and seniority, they'd actually been frightened by a junior. This was an enormous humiliation. Brat, you dare to trick us? Let's see where you can run to. Someone roared and chased after Lin Ling's group. However, just as he approached the surging heavenly river, he instantly stopped in his tracks as if he had thought of a taboo. Don't go near the heavenly river, the others said with solemn expressions and stopped in their tracks. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. The 10th layer martial immortal realm expert uttered a chilling sound as he executed a powerful martial art aiming at the enormous heavenly river below him. Rumble! The river instantly soared into the sky. It was deafening as if it was going to collapse the world. One after another, the elites made their moves one after another, causing the heavenly river to reverse. At this moment, Lin Ling, who had entered the heavenly river, had a drastic change in his expression. Because after entering the huge heavenly river, he found that the water here was extremely mysterious. Even with his god-demon body, he was still surging. When he looked at Sakura and Meng Lu, he found that they had disappeared. This made him worried. Rumble! At the same time, a destructive power came from behind him. That power was so strong that Lin Ling felt a sweet taste in his throat and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, he had made those experts hesitate and afraid when he held the sword. At that time, his big brother and the others should have rushed into the depths of the water. Otherwise, they would have been injured. I have to dive again. Lin Ling's gaze was grave. He let his body sink again. It was too dangerous to stay above the water. After all, the joint attack of the late-stage martial immortal was definitely not simple. However, what surprised Lin Ling was that the river seemed to have no bottom. After 3 incense sticks worth of time, Lin Ling still did not reach the bottom of the river. One must know that with Lin Ling's current speed, 3 incense sticks worth of time could pass through more than 10 worlds. Even with the obstruction of the river, he would definitely pass through 10 worlds. This river is indeed not simple. Lin Ling was secretly surprised. However, after another 3 incense sticks worth of time, the river gradually calmed down. This made Lin Ling feel as if he had arrived in another world. When he raised his head, he found that there was a dividing line in the river. The river above was extremely turbulent, while the river below was extremely calm. Rumble! At this moment, a huge black shadow appeared in front of him. It was swimming in the water like an overlord. When he looked carefully, he found that it was a huge black armored whale. There's a whale in the river? Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. Lin Ling, come here. At this moment, an anxious voice suddenly sounded. There were a lot of rocks in the river. Among them, a figure was waving at Lin Ling from a huge pile of rocks. That person was Meng Lu. Seeing this, Lin Ling quickly swam over and avoided the black armored whale with Meng Lu. "Where's my big brother?" After the crisis passed, Lin Ling looked around and asked worriedly. "He's been washed away." Meng Lu frowned and said with a sigh. "He'll definitely be fine." Hearing this, Lin Ling's expression became solemn. The river was very rapid before, so it was not impossible for Sakura to be washed away. However, as long as his big brother escaped the pursuit of those powerhouses, everything would be fine. Hurry up and recover. This river is also extremely dangerous. Then, Lin Ling looked at Meng Lu and said, making the latter nod. Right now, they were all exhausted. If anything happened, they would not have the strength to resist. At this moment, above the heavenly river, the powerhouses continued to attack. In the end, they were all panting like cows. "Are they dead?" someone asked angrily. So many of them came to hunt them down, but they did not succeed. Instead, many of their own people died. This simply made their lungs explode with anger. Chapter 2997. One of the 100 Great Bloodlines, the Sea God's Bloodline. Time quietly passed. All the experts were in a daze above the heavenly river. "No matter what, when we return, tell young Master Bailey that they're dead." Finally, that 10th stage martial immortal expert said indifferently. "But we don't know if they're dead or alive," someone said with a frown. Obviously, they weren't sure if Lin Ling and the other two were dead. "If we tell others about this, do you think we'll still have face?" that old man said again. Finally, many people nodded. Indeed, if they told the Bailey clan that those 3 brats weren't dead, they would lose face. Those experts left one after another. Gradually, many loose cultivators appeared in the vicinity of the heavenly river. They were discussing spiritedly. Some said that Lin Ling and the other two weren't dead. Some said that Lin Ling and the other two were dead. Even more people said that even if Lin Ling and the other two weren't dead, they would have encountered the taboo in the river. No matter what, if Lin Ling and the other two were still alive under the pursuit of so many experts, that was a miracle. At this moment, beneath the surging heavenly river, Lin Ling and Meng Lu were still recovering amidst the rubble. After a while, Lin Ling stood up. After glancing at Meng Lu, he began to protect him. However, when he thought of Bailey Yenwu and Fairy Lu, his eyes flickered with ice-cold killing intent. "Lin Ling, you've recovered." At this moment, Meng Lu finally stopped cultivating. He raised his head and looked at Lin Ling. There was surprise and emotion on his face. He was surprised that Lin Ling recovered so quickly. He was moved because while he was recovering his boundary essence, Lin Ling had been protecting him all along. "What do we do now?" Meng Lu stood up and walked towards Lin Ling. "My big brother will definitely be fine. I'm not worried about him." Instead, Bailey Yenwu provoked us. "He's dead for sure." Lin Ling's calm face revealed a smile. However, that smile contained a hint of bloodthirst. "Bailey Yenwu really deserves to die. We were just passing by, but he provoked us. Does he think we're pushovers?" Meng Lu's white hair danced in the wind. He looked like the god of death, and a murderous look appeared at the corners of his mouth. "He's messed with someone he shouldn't have messed with." Lin Ling glanced around, then strode out of the pile of rubble. "Let's leave this place. We need to find cultivation resources and increase our strength as soon as possible. Then we can find Big Brother and take revenge for today." Good. Dreamflow was also an unparalleled genius, but together with Lin Ling, he also quietly regarded Lin Ling as the leader. Even though Meng Lu was currently weaker than Lin Ling, his background proved that he would definitely be a figure who ruled over the 9 states in the future. The two of them walked along the quiet river and didn't leave the river for the time being because they couldn't guarantee that there wouldn't be any experts waiting above the river. After an unknown period of time, a slight ripple came from the water in front of him, and the surroundings suddenly became quiet. Only the mysterious water plants at the bottom of the river danced, and occasionally, an unknown fish swam past. Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and floated in the river. "Lin Ling, what happened?" Dreamflow knew that Lin Ling's intuition had always been sharp, and he had been able to warn him of danger several times in advance, so he knew that something was about to happen. "There's something nearby." Lin Ling's eyes constantly flickered. His soul force sensed that there was something mysterious moving quickly in the river, and even he could only vaguely sense it. "Human, Do you want to die by coming here?
Finally, a voice rang out from the river, and 5 tall figures strangely appeared. Their appearance was difficult for even Lin Ling to detect, causing him to exclaim inwardly, "What fast speed! It's definitely 40 world speed." Lin Ling had 30 world speed, but his opponents were 10 worlds faster than him. The difference was too great. Even if Lin Ling was stronger, if his speed couldn't catch up, he still wouldn't be able to defeat his opponents. The 5 people who appeared were extremely tall, with blue skin and long hair like water plants. Their physiques were strong, and they were like agile leopards. Most importantly, they had fish gills on both sides of their cheeks, clearly not humans. Who are you people? Seeing this, Dreamflow acted as if he was facing a great enemy, and was ready to fight to the death. He finally knew why those loose cultivators didn't dare to come down. It turned out that there were such powerhouses in the river. One of the 100 great bloodlines, the descendants of the sea god bloodline. Lin Ling looked at the 5 people and said indifferently. His words caused Dreamflow's pupils to constrict. The 100 great bloodlines were the bloodlines left behind from the era of gods. These descendants of gods were superior to others the moment they were born, and were existences that couldn't be underestimated in the 9 continents. You have some knowledge.
Among the 5, a tall woman said. Apart from her blue skin and fish gills, her other features were no different from a human's. Her chest was covered by a corset woven from seaweed, which wrapped around her full breasts. It gave off an extremely sexy feeling. No need to talk nonsense with them, kill them. Someone said coldly, as if it was taboo for humans to enter the heavenly river. Let me. The leading woman's face turned cold, and a sea god trident appeared in her hand. She stirred the waves and rushed towards Lin Ling. Sea god bloodline? I'd like to meet you. Dreamflow knew that a great battle was inevitable, and he was ready to attack. However, at this time, Lin Ling's arm landed on his shoulder, and he restrained Dreamflow from attacking. This caused Dreamflow's face to change drastically. Lin Ling was not planning to resist. In this short period of time, the woman's sea god trident had arrived. At this moment, she indeed gave off the feeling of a sea god. However, Lin Ling still didn't move. He had his hands behind his back, and he was calm and composed. Surprisingly, the sea god trident suddenly stopped in front of Lin Ling's eyes, and the cold light was extremely dazzling. Why aren't you resisting? The woman didn't kill Lin Ling, and she was a little puzzled. 1. I can't resist. 2. I have no enmity with you, and I don't think you'll kill me, Lin Ling said indifferently. His calm spirit made the woman's eyes flash with surprise. This was the first time she had met someone with such extraordinary courage. One had to know that over the years, they had killed countless cultivators who entered the heavenly river. But those cultivators either resisted desperately or knelt down and begged for mercy. It was rare to see someone like Lin Ling, who had his hands behind his back and was unfazed even if the sky collapsed. Ha ha ha, we won't kill you? Look at how many corpses there are at the bottom of the river. Behind the woman, the sea god tribe members laughed loudly. However, Lin Ling was still expressionless and indifferent. Instead, he looked at the woman in front of him. This person is really mysterious. He's obviously not strong, but he gives me the feeling of dominating everything. The woman's eyes flickered, and she finally waved her hand. Take them back. What? The others were shocked. They may be useful. Take them back and let the patriarch decide. The woman waved her hand, and several people behind her grabbed Lin Ling and swam forward. Chapter 2998. Killing to vent their anger. Their speed is 40 worlds. In the water, that's their territory. On the other hand, our speed has been suppressed, so we're not suitable for battle. Moreover, we need cultivation resources right now. Perhaps the Sea God clan will be of help to us. As if sensing Meng Lu's confusion, Lin Ling secretly transmitted his voice. Meng Lu immediately nodded. At the same time, he also discovered that in the face of danger, Lin Ling was much calmer than him. Along the way, the several sea god men angrily shouted at Lin Ling, "You'd better behave yourselves. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." They also saw that Lin Ling was too calm. He didn't have the panic that an ordinary person should have. This made them a little unhappy. "Are we not going to behave now?" Lin Ling replied with a smile. His words left them speechless.
They felt that Lin Ling had come here to play. In fact, even Meng Lu felt the same way. Not long after, an ancient black mountain canyon appeared in front of them. Layer upon layer, it was submerged in rolling waves. However, in the canyon, a large number of tall figures were gathered. They were all members of the Sea God clan. Lin Ling, look!
Suddenly, Meng Lu cried out in surprise. This was because a large number of treasures were scattered around the canyon. They were all weapons, and there were even some scattered extreme artifacts. Yet, such precious treasures were scattered everywhere like trash. It was impossible not to be surprised. Those are the things left behind by the martial artists who entered the heavenly river. Hearing Meng Lu's voice, the leader of the Sea God clan woman said indifferently. Then, she ignored Lin Ling and Meng Lu and led the others forward. They didn't seem to be afraid that Lin Ling and Meng Lu would escape. However, Lin Ling could also see that if they wanted to escape here, unless they had 50 worlds of speed, it would be an act of suicide. These Sea God bloodlines are only a type of branch bloodline. In reality, there are quite a few people who possess the Sea God bloodline, even humans. However, this group of people can't give birth to Jie Yuan, but their bodies are extremely powerful. Therefore they can't use those weapons, and the weapons have become trash. Lin Ling looked ahead and explained indifferently. I see. Meng Lu nodded and suddenly asked curiously. Lin Ling, are you familiar with the Sea God bloodline? It's a little familiar, Lin Ling said with a smile as he strode forward. In his previous life, Li Xiaoyao had defeated countless geniuses of the 9 continents. One of them had the pure bloodline of the Sea God and could summon the sea of the 9 continents. He was extremely powerful and was ranked in the top 10 of Li Xiaoyao's opponents. Unfortunately, he was still defeated by Xiaoyao. Although that genius had the bloodline of a deity, Li Xiaoyao had an ancient technique that even deities couldn't understand. The chaos formula. Come on, come on. At this moment, a deafening sound came from the front. There was a huge rock there. There was a huge, but the rocks blocked the entrance, which was the rock, 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 the side. The rock was engraved with ancient runes. After approaching it, one could hear the roar of the sea. In front of the rock, there was a tall and sturdy Sea God clansman trying to lift the rock. However, when he hugged the rock with both hands, the rock only shook slightly and remained motionless. They are challenging the altar left behind by the ancestors again, someone said indifferently. It was an old man who looked to be in his 50s. He was a human who was captured and enslaved by the Sea God clan like Lin Ling. Meng Lu and Lin Ling stood not far from the old man. Looking carefully, there were more than 100 humans here. The altar left behind by the ancestors? Meng Lu was somewhat curious. Yes, this is the inheritance of the Uzumaki clan. Seeing that Lin Ling and Meng Lu were newcomers, the old man couldn't help but explain. It turned out that this group of Sea God clansmen was called the Uzumaki clan. This showed that Lin Ling's previous words were correct. There were many people with Sea God's bloodline. Because they have a vortex seal on them, the only way to break the seal is to enter the altar of the ancestors. It is said that in so many years, only one person of the Uzumaki clan has entered the altar and successfully broke the seal. From then on, he can cultivate boundary essence. Next to the old man, a middle-aged man said. Their physical strength is very strong, plus their combat strength in the water can be greatly increased, so we are not their opponents. Yes. The Uzumaki clan and the forces of Dragontooth City are sworn enemies, so as long as we fly over the Heavenly River, they will attack us. Right now, we have been trapped for 800 years. Yes. I have 1,000 years. Yes. The others also said one after another. 2 little friends, you were caught at such a young age. What a pity. The old man looked at Lin Ling and Meng Lu and said with some regret. Hearing this, Meng Lu's face became a little ugly. Was he going to be a slave here for a lifetime? Don't think about running away, they are very fast, you can't escape at all, and if you are found running away, you will only end up dead. Sigh. The old man seemed to guess what Meng Lu was thinking and advised again, making Meng Lu sigh, even more unwilling in his heart. It's okay, we can leave whenever we want. It's not difficult. I am very interested in the treasures in the canyon. At this time, Lin Ling, who had been silent, also opened his mouth. His words made the pupils of the people around him shrink, and then they all smiled disdainfully. This young man is young and impetuous. He doesn't know the ferocity of the Uzumaki clan.
In the future he will understand.
They didn't say anything about Lin Ling, because everyone who came here for the first time was like Lin Ling, like to say some arrogant words. Lin Ling also noticed the gazes of the people around him, but he didn't explain anything. Instead, he looked around the canyon, where he noticed a familiar aura, related to the scabbard behind him. Is there also a fragment of the scabbard here? The scabbard, this is a treasure that Lin Ling can't understand. In the past, the headless old man repeatedly wanted to kill Lin Ling, but after getting a fragment of the sword, the old man's killing intent weakened a lot, and Lin Ling can also control the sword for the first time. And the power of the sword is currently stronger than the time and space steel. So, if there is a fragment of the sword here, Lin Ling is bound to get it. Rumble! At this time, there was a roar in front of them, and another Uzumaki clan member went to carry the stone, but unfortunately, he failed and was seriously injured. This made the Uzumaki clan members sigh. It seems that the altar left by their ancestors is really difficult to enter. Patriarch, I am useless.
The person who failed bowed his head and said. His face was extremely sad.
You are the first warrior of our Uzumaki clan. If you can't succeed, then I am afraid there is no one in our generation. We can only rely on the next generation. A white-haired old man with a flowing beard said helplessly. This is the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. I am useless.
The warrior who failed gritted his teeth, still unwilling. His eyes suddenly fell on the human, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes.
Chapter 2999. Fragments of the Water Boundary. Originally, this area was the ancestral home of the Uzumaki clan, but after the damn humans came, they robbed their territory and made them hide in the Milky Way forever. Therefore, humans deserve to die. Not good. Perceiving the gaze of the Uzumaki clan, the faces of the warriors in the distance greatly changed. They also know that if the Uzumaki clan fails, one of the humans will die. It's you, come out. The warrior pointed to an old man and said. That old man was the one who spoke to Lin Ling before. Alas, it's finally my turn. The old man's heart immediately turned to ashes. He knew that resistance is useless. He looked at Lin Ling and the others and said, What's in life must be there. Today, I will die for you. I hope that one day you can escape from the sea of bitterness. Elder Guan. Hearing this, the eyes of the others suddenly became moist. The old man smiled bitterly and wanted to step out, but at this time, a figure walked out faster than him. It's Lin Ling. Senpai, I will die for you. As soon as such words came out, everyone was stunned. Lin Ling step by step walked towards the Uzumaki clan, which made the Uzumaki clan extremely surprised, because this is the first time they saw someone die for others. Boy, you are very bold. The warrior squinted his eyes. Although he was surprised by Lin Ling's courage, it doesn't mean that he will let Lin Ling go. Before you die, do you have anything to say? The warrior also stepped forward. He was 3 meters tall. He came in front of Lin Ling and looked down at Lin Ling like a giant. Lin Ling looked up at the blue-skinned Uzumaki clan member. His face was calm, but he also showed a faint smile. I just want to say one thing, you are indeed useless. When this sentence fell, the entire Uzumaki clan, including the humans, were stunned. They thought that Lin Ling would say something, but the result was this guy mocked the warrior face to face. The warrior was also stunned. His eyes were red with anger. The Uzumaki clan leader frowned. Who brought this person back? Grandfather, it's me. The woman who brought Lin Ling back immediately replied, but she also couldn't understand Lin Ling's actions. You must be the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. I really don't understand why your Uzumaki clan is qualified to have the bloodline of the sea god. Lin Ling said again, it's a disgrace to have your race in the bloodline of the sea god. You're crazy. How dare you? No one thought that after reprimanding the warrior, Lin Ling would dare to mock the entire Uzumaki clan. The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan immediately laughed, without the slightest anger. Little guy, you are so bold, I think you want us to look at you in a different light and spare your life in the end. Unfortunately, such tricks are useless against us. We will still kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand coldly. He had lived for countless years, so how could he not be aware of Lin Ling's actions? However, what Lin Ling said next stunned him. Really? What if I lift the boulder? This sentence undoubtedly shocked the entire Uzumaki clan. The warrior was even angrier. Arrogant words, watch me kill you. In his view, Lin Ling is simply provoking the Uzumaki clan. They can ignore him once, but twice, thrice, this is unacceptable. He raised his hand and slapped Lin Ling, without any world essence power, but with the power of 70 worlds. Crash! The river suddenly turned into monstrous waves. Their sea god's bloodline is very strong in the field of controlling water. Not only is it powerful, but it also contains the power of the universe. If you don't try, how can you not know that I can't do it? Instead, if you kill me, you will miss the opportunity to unlock the seal. Facing the warrior's attack, Lin Ling put his hands behind his back, his blue robe fluttering with the waves, extremely stunning. Stop! Finally, the patriarch shouted, stopping the warrior's attack. Everyone looked at Lin Ling and found that Lin Ling was still calm, as if he didn't know that he had just walked through the door of death. Such boldness undoubtedly made everyone secretly admire him. Little guy, with your courage, I will give you a chance. The patriarch looked deeply at Lin Ling and said. As Lin Ling said, killing Lin Ling is a small matter. But what if Lin Ling can really unlock the seal? They won't lose much in this gamble. So why not? Lin Ling slowly walked forward and shook his head. It's not like that, but I will give you a chance. With his age, saying such words, no doubt shocked everyone again. The patriarch couldn't help but laugh out loud. It had been many years since he had seen a martial artist with such a personality. This was because if the youth was arrogant and deliberately mystifying, then he didn't even frown in the face of death. He was truly fearless. But the young man is so young. I want the treasures around this canyon, and then let everyone go. I promise to help you. Lin Ling came to the front of the patriarch and smiled slightly. You have put forward 2 conditions. Don't you think you are too greedy? The patriarch narrowed his eyes and said, I don't think so. First, I will unlock the seal for you. Second, I will join hands with you to eradicate the forces of Dragontooth City. So I put forward 2 conditions. No one will lose. Lin Ling said word by word. Boom. These words were earth-shattering. Not only the Uzumaki clan, but also the human's heart roared. A prisoner actually boasted like this. Could it be that he grew up bragging? Don't talk about eradicating the forces of Dragontooth City. Even the first condition is impossible. After all, the Uzumaki clan has been here for many years, and their seal has not been lifted. How can Lin Ling do it? Haha, you made me take you seriously before, but now I've underestimated you. You said that you can break the seal, then let me ask you, what is that rock? I'll give you 100 chances to answer. If you answer wrongly, I'll kill one of you until all of you are dead. The patriarch's voice turned cold. Humph, I advise you, those who threaten me will not have a good ending, but seeing that you have a grudge with the forces of Dragontooth City, I will not care about it for the time being. As for what that rock is, such a simple question, are you laughing at me? Or are you looking down on me? Lin Ling sneered and looked at the huge rock. The reason why he dared to come out must be because he was confident, because that rock was broken by him. In Li Xiaoyao's era, he once fought with the Poseidon bloodline. The latter held the sea-suppressing sky halberd, and in the end, the halberd was broken, and one of the fragments turned into that rock. The reason why Lin Ling was so familiar with it was that he had fought with that genius for 3 years. The raw material of that rock is the fragment of the water realm, which was cast into the shape of the sea-suppressing stone. It was originally one of the fragments of a halberd. Chapter 3000. You're helping by shutting up. Hearing this, Lin Ling frowned and said disdainfully, It turns out that you don't know the origin of this rock. The patriarch was a little embarrassed and said, We only know that this is the sea-suppressing stone. We didn't know that it is a fragment of the water realm and one of the halberds. The fragment of the water realm is actually the same as the fragment of the flame world, only the shape is different. Of course, after Lin Ling said the origin of the rock, the Uzumaki people looked at Lin Ling differently, and their attitude became much more polite. This stone has the weight of 100 worlds. Without the power of 100 worlds, no one can lift it. Lin Ling said again. No wonder, no wonder. The patriarch was even more surprised and was even more polite to Lin Ling. But for me, it's still a little too light. However, Lin Ling spoke again, and that light sentence directly made the patriarch's eyes widen. In his sight, Lin Ling was already walking towards the huge rock. No way, he's a human. Crazy. Is he crazy? Even the Uzumaki clan, who are good at physical strength, failed. How can this young man succeed?
Before, I thought that he was really capable. But now it seems that he is used to boasting. And the more he boasted, the more he boasted.
The humans in the distance immediately whispered to each other.
It's not that they look down on Lin Ling's strength, but among the warriors, there are very few people who have strong physical strength, let alone more than the power of 100 worlds.
Patriarch, the sea-suppressing stone is not simple. If he fails, he will die. The warrior stared at Lin Ling's back and quickly looked at the patriarch. If Lin Ling was an ordinary person, they would be too lazy to care about Lin Ling's life or death. But Lin Ling's previous explanation made them know that Lin Ling was not an ordinary person. If he died, it would be bad for them. Everyone, get ready, don't let him die. He knows a lot of things. Maybe he can help our Uzumaki clan. Yes. The patriarch also reacted and quickly waved his hand. Yes, patriarch. All the Uzumaki clansmen looked at Lin Ling and prepared to help Lin Ling. Rumble. However, in the next moment, they were dumbfounded and stunned. Some people even slapped themselves hard to see if they were dreaming. This was because the rock that sealed the altar was being slowly lifted up by Lin Ling. What a fierce human. Everyone's hearts trembled violently. The altar has appeared. The patriarch was so shocked that he almost fell to his knees. He stared at the cave behind the huge rock. The Uzumaki clan has been here for thousands of years. They have always wanted to enter the altar but failed repeatedly. Today, a human suddenly came and opened the altar for them? This was simply the talk of an eternity. How could they know that Lin Ling was indeed inferior to them in the water? But in terms of physical strength, Lin Ling greatly surpassed them. Although this sea-suppressing stone isn't very heavy, do you want me to keep carrying it? At this time, Lin Ling's depressed voice came. The Uzumaki clansmen reacted and their body trembled with excitement. The patriarch quickly said to the clansmen, "Quickly, go in and unlock the seal." Hearing this, the Uzumaki clansmen rushed into the black hole and disappeared inside. Lin Ling was still holding the huge rock for them. This made the patriarch and the others feel grateful and almost kneeled down to salute him because this young man has made a great contribution for them. Don't be happy too early. I think there is nothing in the altar. However, Lin Ling slowly said while holding the huge rock. Why? The patriarch didn't dare to underestimate Lin Ling and immediately asked. It's very simple. Your ancestor sealed the sea-suppressing stone at the entrance of the cave. This shows that the altar is actually useless, so he sealed the cave. Lin Ling said with a smile, but the patriarch didn't refute him. He just frowned and waited quietly. Not long after, a large number of Uzumaki clansmen came out of the cave. One by one, their face was gloomy. The previous warrior sighed and said, "Patriarch, there is nothing inside." Looking at the clansmen who didn't gain anything, the patriarch's face suddenly turned ashen. Rumble. Lin Ling also put down the boulder and looked at the crowd with a faint smile. Actually, it's not difficult to break your seals. I just need to break the sea with the sea. You should feel that your dantian is like the sea. No matter how you practice, all the spiritual energy dissipates into the sea, right? Hearing this, the patriarch exclaimed, "Little friend, how do you know this? I have a friend who also has the blood of the sea god. At first, he practiced the same way as you, but later, he broke the seal and became a genius of 9 regions. Who is your friend? Can we see him?" Through constant conversation, the attitude of the Uzumaki clan members towards Lin Ling changed to awe, no longer a mere courtesy. "I'm afraid you can't see him." Lin Ling shook his head. The genius of the sea god's blood was Li Xiaoyao's opponent, but now he didn't know where he went, and even if he was in front of him, he wouldn't care about the Uzumaki clansmen. "However, you don't have to be disappointed, because I may be able to unlock your seal." Putting away his thoughts, Lin Ling said again. Silence. The entire canyon was dead silent. "Senior, you won't lie to us, right?" The patriarch didn't seem to believe it, but Lin Ling's magic was obvious to all. This made him look forward to it, but at the same time, he was afraid that his dream would be defeated by reality and everything would be in vain. "You think I'm free?" Lin Ling looked at him with a smile. "Little ones, quickly let the senior help." With Lin Ling's affirmation, the patriarch suddenly roared. "Senior, please help me." The Uzumaki clansmen rushed out of the canyon one after another, and each of them was very excited. "What's the hurry? Do you think I'm a treasure that everyone wants to eat? Give me one by one." Seeing this, Lin Ling couldn't help but reprimand those fierce Uzumaki clansmen. At this moment, all of them bowed their heads and didn't dare to speak. That scene made the humans in the distance feel very unreal. Is this really the Uzumaki clan that killed countless people? Patriarch, you go first. Lin Ling walked toward the patriarch and asked him to sit down cross-legged. Senior, what do I want to do? Just say it. I will break the seal even if I have to risk my life. The patriarch seemed to be desperate. You don't have to do anything. Just sit cross-legged and cultivate. Lin Ling stopped in front of the patriarch and said lightly, "Good." The patriarch was very excited. After waiting for a moment, he said again, "Senior, if there's anything you want to say, just say it." Thinking of being able to unlock the seal, he undoubtedly became more and more excited, so he was afraid that he couldn't help Lin Ling. "If you shut up, I'll help you." Lin Ling couldn't help but reprimand him again. "This old guy, is he done yet?" After saying that, his palm slapped the patriarch's back, and in his body, thousands of sea roared. And this is the power of the big sea heart flower. Chapter 3001. Leaving the Milky Way. "Sea, are you the sea god?" At this moment, the patriarch exclaimed as he felt the power of 10,000 seas pouring into his body. "Shut up!" Lin Ling roared again. "Oh my god, he has the power of the sea god. He is definitely the sea god." Who knew that the patriarch was so shocked that he was incoherent? Bang! Lin Ling punched the patriarch's head and knocked him out. "You old man, you talk too much nonsense." Seeing Lin Ling attacking the patriarch, the Uzumaki people smiled bitterly, but they did not dare to do anything and let Lin Ling do whatever he wanted. Rumble! At the place where Lin Ling was, the river water surged and turned into 10,000 seas rolling. The power of Thunder Sea, Flame Sea, Ice Sea and so on were all integrated into the river water. So powerful! The Uzumaki people blinked and looked at Lin Ling as if they were looking at the sea god. And the sea god is a real god. After an unknown amount of time, the patriarch finally opened his eyes and found a trace of weak spiritual energy lingering in his dantian. He jumped up and swam around crazily like a fish. "I can cultivate, ha ha ha, I can cultivate." One must know that the sea god's bloodline is not weak and his body is extremely strong. If he can produce boundary essence, it can increase his strength by half. So, how can the patriarch not be happy? Benefactor! Benefactor! After swimming a few laps excitedly, the patriarch came to Lin Ling and bowed respectfully. "Men, give all the treasures around the canyon to the benefactor and release all the humans. From now on, except for the forces of Dragon Tooth City, ordinary warriors are not allowed to be killed." When his order came out, the hundreds of warriors in the distance were shocked and absent-minded. They did not expect that because of Lin Ling, they would be free from the sea of bitterness from now on. That little friend is really a god. At the same time, he was extremely grateful to Lin Ling. In the following days, Lin Ling cultivated in the Uzumaki clan. There were a lot of treasures here, and he used them all to refine them. After a year, his cultivation had finally reached the 4th level of the martial immortal realm. However, there weren't many treasures that could be used for cultivation, so Lin Ling's other dantians were still in place. As for Dream Flow, he had also stepped into the 4th level of the martial immortal realm. Furthermore, his talent had been stimulated once more, allowing him to step into the desolate body realm. Dream Stream is also a piece of unpolished jade with limitless potential. Lin Ling was secretly astonished at Dream Flow's growth. Dream Flow was still in seclusion, so he did not want to disturb him. Instead, he planned to leave this place temporarily, because he had too many treasures, and he needed to go to Dragon Tooth City to trade. "Patriarch, the forces in Dragon Tooth City also have enmity with me. After my strength increases again, I'll join forces with you to eradicate those forces." Before leaving, Lin Ling said to the patriarch. The patriarch nodded excitedly. In the area of Dragon Tooth City, there are many people who want to eradicate those forces. In this dense ancient forest, I know of a few ancient clans. They also want to destroy the Bailey clan and Lu clan. All right, contact them. Tell them that the best time has come. Lin Ling changed into a clean robe and waved goodbye. Watching the young man leave, the patriarch sighed in his heart. What a mysterious young man. Whoosh! Using all his strength,
Lin Ling once again rushed through the rolling waves of the heavenly river. When he appeared on the ground, he could not help but let out a sigh of relief.
He finally came out. Lin Ling patted the bag hanging from his waist. It was filled with a large number of treasures. He planned to head to Dragon Tooth City.
As long as he traded these treasures, his strength would increase again.
The scabbard is beginning to change. After obtaining all the treasures in the canyon, Lin Ling saw a broken sword in a pile of scrap metal.
Then, he put it into the scabbard, and it was finally absorbed by the scabbard.
This made him realize that the broken sword was indeed a part of the sword. However, the broken sword was not big, so the effect of the scabbard was not obvious. However, it made Lin Ling more familiar with the scabbard. This scabbard must be the sword of some divine being. Its origin was extraordinary, and it could make Lin Ling use the most powerful sword with the fusion of essence, energy, and spirit. That sword seemed to be 20% of the devil's sword rank, but Lin Ling felt that it was not only that.
Because he was very familiar with the power of the rank, 20% of the power of the rank was not as strong as the scabbard.
Therefore, this scabbard hid a power that exceeded the rank. However, Lin Ling was not very clear about what kind of power it was. Thinking constantly, Lin Ling walked back the way he came. Boy, along the way, did you see the ultimate emperor heavenly fruit? Suddenly, a lazy voice came from above. On top of a huge ancient tree in front of him, an assassin-like man was standing there, leaning against the ancient tree. His aura was extremely sharp. The ultimate emperor heavenly fruit he mentioned was obviously the treasure he needed the most. However, he could not find it in a short time, so he asked passers-by about it. Lin Ling did not say anything. Instead, his face became a little strange.
The man lowered his head, looking very carefree. However, when he saw that Lin Ling did not say anything, he finally looked at Lin Ling slowly.
You're just an early martial immortal. Don't be too arrogant. After saying this, he saw Lin Ling's appearance clearly.
His eyes narrowed. You're the boy who was being hunted?
He recognized that this was the boy who caused an uproar a year ago, and all the experts were sent to hunt him down. Hee, I didn't expect that someone would recognize me. Lin Ling was also a little surprised, but the smile on his face became even more bloodthirsty. You remember me. This means that you were also involved in the hunt last time. His voice was cold, and his smile was like that of a demon. The carefree man on the tree trembled. In the past, this young man killed countless martial immortals with a single sword.
That scene. He had seen it with his own eyes.
Bang! He stepped on the tree branch, and a turbulent smoke burst out. His whole body disappeared from the tree in an instant. The hazy smoke blocked his line of sight. Lin Ling was stunned.
Then his soul power spread out. He escaped really fast.
He took a step and shot toward a certain direction. At this moment, a figure walked out from a thick and short ancient tree. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. That boy is still alive. I must tell the 100 Lane clan.
As soon as he finished speaking, he dashed towards the distance while a complacent smile hung on the corners of his mouth.
The martial technique he'd executed earlier was called the Sandalwood Rain technique, and it was a mid-grade 7th grade martial technique.
It allowed him to cultivate 30% of the force of the universe, allowing him to vanish in the void of the universe.
It was unfathomable.
He'd relied on this movement technique to escape death many times, and he'd even survived at the hands of a half-saint expert.
If I tell Fairy Lou this news, she will definitely reward me handsomely. Thinking of the reward, the man became even more excited.
He could exchange it for a large amount of treasures to cultivate, and his strength would increase greatly.
Then, he could kill some weak people and be admired by millions of beauties. Just thinking about it made him excited. Bang! Chapter 3002.
Slaughter. Those words and that smile made the man tremble.
The person who came was Lin Ling.
Without waiting for the man to speak, Lin Ling exploded with the speed of 30 worlds and punched out.
In the next moment, a painful cry came from the dense forest, startling the birds. The cultivators nearby all looked up at the sky, not knowing what had happened. After Lin Ling killed the man, he shook off the blood on his fist and looked into the distance. Bailey Yenwu, Fairy Lou, you've offended someone you shouldn't have offended. I'll make you regret what you did that day. Cold. The cold voice echoed in the forest. Lin Ling had already disappeared. The ancient dragon's tongue and teeth were vast and boundless. In this ancient divine forest, light would occasionally soar into the sky and roar of divine beasts. In the depths of this ancient forest, there were hidden dangers everywhere. Some people died here and turned into a pile of bones. Some people obtained treasures here and rose to the heavens in a single step. It was undeniable that although this forest was dangerous, it was also the cradle of heavenly treasures. However, this treasure-like forest was also controlled by someone. It was the huge power of the Dragon Tooth City. Run! That person is catching up. In the dusky forest, the light in the sky was blocked. A figure quickly moved through the forest with the speed of 15 worlds. This speed was extremely terrifying. In the 10,000 worlds, this speed could easily cross 15 worlds. However, in the 9 prefectures, this speed was obviously suppressed. In addition, the forest was bigger than the 10,000 worlds, so the speed of 15 worlds couldn't allow him to rush out of the forest in an instant. This person wasn't old, about 40 years old. However, he was extremely powerful. He was an ambitious and ruthless person. However, when he turned around and looked behind him, fear appeared on his determined face. It was as if there was an ancient ferocious beast chasing after him. I must return to the city immediately. He made complicated hand seals with both hands. A black hole vortex began to appear in front of him and he shot into it. When he reappeared, he was already in the void. The pitch-black starry sky made the man smile. He finally escaped from that demon. During this period of time, many of his friends had died in the hands of that demon. That demon was extremely powerful. Late martial immortals were no match for him. In addition, he was like an assassin that was impossible to guard against. In the end, he became the most feared person among the loose cultivators. In fact, he didn't know why that person wanted to kill him. Perhaps, that person was a homicidal maniac. Rumble! Right at this moment, a dazzling meteor appeared in the sky, and it came crashing down on him in a dense mass. Upon closer inspection, the colorful flames covering the meteors were in the shape of coffins. It's him! The man's heart trembled. The Grim Reaper had caught up. He didn't expect that the Grim Reaper would still be able to catch up to him after he escaped into the universal void. Why do you want to kill me? The man let out an unwilling cry. A cloaked figure appeared in front of his eyes. He stood there quietly, as if he had been waiting for a long time. However, the figure gradually removed his cloak, revealing a delicate and pretty face. It's you! The man looked at the face in disbelief. He finally knew why the other party had come. Rumble! Unfortunately, it was all too late. The flaming coffins smashed down from the sky. The man began to resist with all his might. Unfortunately, there were too many flaming coffins. Gradually, he was smashed beyond recognition. He let out a painful cry and finally calmed down. In the pitch-black starry sky, the cloaked man walked forward step by step. He looked extremely calm and said, "This is the 65th person. The Bailey clan and the Liu clan are really bold. They actually summoned so many late martial immortals. However, I would like to see how many people can be killed by me." He was Lin Ling. After leaving the Heavenly River, he began to take revenge. Those loose cultivators had no enmity with him. However, they wanted to kill him for money. Therefore, they had to bear the anger of being killed by Lin Ling. Therefore, during this period of time, he wore a large cloak and kept inquiring about the news. He killed all those who had participated in the assassination of him. However, Lin Ling still did not find any news about his elder brother. The only thing he was sure of was that his elder brother was still alive. Moreover, during this period of bitter fighting, Lin Ling's cultivation had stabilized. Now, he was confident that he could defeat a 10th stage martial immortal expert. Of course, the premise was that his opponent did not have the desolate body and the power of a higher stage. Who is it? At this moment, in a luxurious mansion in the Dragon Tooth City, a middle-aged man smashed the teacup in his hand. The middle-aged man was wearing a white fur coat. He was rich and dignified. His eyebrows were sharp and he gave people a feeling that they could not look directly at him. His identity was also extremely powerful. He was one of the last disciples of martial god Qilin, Lu Shangyun. The heavenly court was a huge force that spread throughout the 9 provinces. It was unshakable since ancient times. The current #1 person in the heavenly court, martial god Qilin, was a big shot that shocked the 9 provinces. Although there were countless members in the heavenly court, there were not many who could become martial god Qilan's last disciple. Each of them had an illustrious identity. In the 9 provinces, even the god emperors would give them face. Sir, during this period of time, more and more people have died in our branch of the heavenly court. Many of them were qualified to join the heavenly court but were killed in the end. Most importantly, we have reported the quota to the heavenly court. Now that we can't hand over so many experts, it will be difficult to explain to the heavenly court. A man in a standard robe said. The heavenly court was also constantly recruiting members, constantly growing stronger and stronger. It was just that the recruitment requirements were higher. Becoming a member of the heavenly court was also a matter of endless glory. But now, the warriors they had recruited here were all dead. Instead, they had handed over the quota. This made it difficult to explain to the heavenly court. It's not strange that 1, 2, or even 3 people have died. However, all of them are our people. This means that someone is deliberately targeting us. Lu Shangyun said faintly. I guess, it should be one of the 3 young men we chased a year ago. One of them is still alive. Moreover, the Bailey clan has also replied that many of their people have died. So, we can be sure that among the 3 young men, one of them is still alive. Sir, you're right. We will find that person. Hearing this, the man in the standard robe nodded immediately. Go. This person humiliated the young lady. He must die. Don't bother me with these trivial matters. My goal is still to guard against the ancient clans in the Heavenly River and the ancient forest. Lu Shangyun rubbed his temples and said, as if he was very impatient with this matter. Yes, sir. The man took the order and left. However, not long after, a piece of news that made Lu Shangyun slightly happy came. Sir, that person has been found. This person is in the Dragon Tooth City. He wanted to kill young Master Bailey but was discovered in the end. Although he escaped, he is now sealed in the Dragon Tooth City. Very well. Good, he is in the Dragon Tooth City. That is the territory of the Bailey clan and my Lu clan. He can't escape. I will give you 3 months to capture him alive and let the young lady personally gouge out his eyes. Sir. Chapter 3003. It's impossible to fly. At the same time, a storm was brewing in Dragontooth City, and the entire city was on guard. It was easy to enter the city, but it was harder than ascending to the heavens to leave the city. Capture 1 person alive in the city. This is the appearance of that person. Anyone who sees it will be heavily rewarded. He's that homicidal maniac? Qu'est-ce? I didn't expect him to be so young. He caused a storm in the city some time ago. Now we can go search for treasures in the ancient forest without worry. After the ancient city was covered with portraits, those independent cultivators relaxed. So long as that person was trapped in Dragontooth City, then they would capture him sooner or later, so they didn't have to worry. At this moment, in an inn in Dragontooth City, a masked man was drinking wine, and the eyes beneath the mask were extremely cold. The Bailey clan has a half-saint realm expert. That young Master Bailey is very difficult to kill. This man was Sakra. After he jumped into the surging Milky Way that day, he flowed with the current and was finally separated from Lin Ling and Lu Ming. Now, a year had passed, and he didn't know the whereabouts of Lin Ling and Meng Lu. However, according to the rumors, both Lin Ling and Meng Lu were dead. So, Sakra didn't leave. He ceaselessly slaughtered the members of the Bailey clan, and he wanted to kill Bailey Yenwu and Fairy Lu even more. But in the end, his plan failed, and he was trapped in the city. This city is really miraculous. I wanted to soar through the sky, but a mysterious force sealed me, causing me to be unable to charge out. I could only leave through the city gate. However, there are countless experts at the city gate, so that path isn't easy to take. Sakra said to himself. During this period of time, his strength had improved, but he was still much weaker than the Bailey clan and Lu clan. Die. Right at this moment, a ray of light slashed towards him. It was sharp and fierce, and it possessed 60% of the energy of the universe. Crack! Sakra threw away the wine cup in his hand, and his right arm transformed into bones that collided with the sword. Cracks instantly appeared on his bones. What? Use your hands to block my sword.
The person who had attacked was an old man at the 8th level of the martial immortal realm. He was Sword Immortal MOU from the Eastern Territory. He had thought that the person being hunted was not strong, so he had volunteered. However, he now realized that this 4th level martial immortal realm junior was not weak at all.
Hee, the one who should die is you.
The corner of Sakra's mouth revealed a cold smile. His white bony arm swung out and pierced through that old man's chest.
You kill me.
The old man lowered his head in disbelief.
This is what you get for trying to kill me.
Sakra sneered and threw the old man away.
Then, he quickly left through the window. He didn't dare to burst out with his full speed because he would become the focus of attention. He only wanted to blend into the crowd as soon as possible.
Yes, he's in the vicinity. Have everyone in the city narrow down their search target and focus on searching the nearby area. Sakra had just left and immediately, a strong practitioner appeared and issued an order.
Dragon Tooth City was huge, so it would not be easy to find someone in a short period of time.
However, if the target of the search was smaller, it would be much easier.
Very good. This man is called Sakra. I want to catch him with my own hands.
In the Bailey clan, Bailey Yenwu also revealed a cold smile.
Among the 3 cockroaches, he was lucky enough to survive. Did he think that he could escape the Bailey clan's pursuit? This was simply a dream. Almost at the same time, the Lu clan also received the news. Lu Shangyun nodded with satisfaction. The homicidal maniac that he had been looking for was finally coming to the surface. He also wanted to see what this cockroach-like person looked like.
Not good, my lord. In the ancient forest, another member of our heavenly court has died. However, when the 2 forces were looking forward to it, someone sent the news, which made Lu Shangyun and Bailey Yenwu stunned. Wasn't the homicidal maniac trapped in the ancient city? Why were there still people dying in the forest?
How many people died? Lu Shangyun frowned and said, if 1 or 2 people died, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Perhaps they died in the mouth of demon beasts. Almost 100 people, all of them are from the Heavenly Court and the Bailey clan. The man glanced at Lu Shangyun and said nervously. Sure enough, after this sentence, Lu Shangyun's face became extremely ugly. His heart was extremely painful, as if it was cut by a knife. The number of people who died in the Heavenly Court's branch this time was simply beyond his imagination.
This means that 2 of the 3 cockroaches are still alive.
Find him, even if he's a god. I want him to fall in the dragon tongue tooth.
Lu Shangyun's voice became louder and louder. Obviously, he was roaring.
On the other side, the Bailey clan was also furious at this moment. Because these 2 pieces of rat feces had stirred up a nest of soup. They even thought that the 2 cockroaches did it deliberately. One of them was outside, while the other was inside. They wanted to uproot them.
Finally counterattack? Let's see if you're qualified. Bailey Yenwu said with a cold face.
He did not expect the 2 to be so difficult to deal with. He was sure that the 2 foreigners were not ordinary people. They were probably very powerful in their hometown. However, the fierce dragon could not fight the local snake. They could not make any big waves in the Dragon Tooth City. At this moment, a figure in a large cloak was slowly entering Dragon Tooth City. The cloaked figure stopped at the entrance and raised his head to look at the ancient city while a wisp of a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouth.
Flying Snow Heavenly Love Formation. Once this formation is set up, those who enter it will not leave. It's an excellent ancient formation for trapping people. Unless one is in the Sage-to-Be realm, no one can break out of it. Moreover, this formation covers the whole city. The Lu clan is really generous.
However, Martial God Qilin used to learn martial arts from me. He didn't learn the essence, but he did learn a lot of skills.
The man said lightly.
He was Lin Ling. After seeing the giant defensive formation of the city, he immediately felt a sense of familiarity. This formation was taught to Martial God Qilin by Li Xiaoyao. Now that someone in the city could set up this formation, it meant that the person was the successor of Martial God Qilin. Lin Ling even guessed that the person was the person with the greatest power in the Heavenly Court in the Dragon Tooth City. In the past, although Lin Ling had killed many people in the Heavenly Court, they were just small fries. Now he could finally kill a backbone. This was also the first step on his path of revenge against the Heavenly Court after his rebirth.
I'll play with you slowly.
Lin Ling put away his thoughts and stepped into the ancient city. Then, he went straight to the auction house, which was also a place for trading. He had a lot of treasures now,
and what he needed was imperial crystals. When he arrived at the ancient auction house, the auction had already ended.
However, there were still a lot of rogue cultivators around.
This was because there were also treasures to be sold around the auction house, but they were not as valuable as the ones in the auction house. Lin Ling knew that the auction had ended through the conversations of passers-by. He simply set up a stall to trade. Chapter 3004. You still have 3 breaths of time.
When the treasures fell on the floor, the expressions of the people nearby changed.
That's a semi-supreme weapon. What a sharp aura. And it's not just one. Look at that long saber. That's the flying fish flaming wasp saber, the famous weapon of Taoist fire bee. It's extremely powerful. Tisk tiske, I wonder how much it's worth. Many people gathered around quietly, their eyes full of excitement. Although weapons were external objects, powerful weapons could increase a cultivator's strength by 30% or even 50%. Who wouldn't be tempted?
However, they were also a little afraid of the cloaked man, because those who dared to set up a stall here must have some confidence in their own strength.
However, after they used a secret technique to investigate, they were surprised to find that the cloaked man was only a level 4 martial immortal. This level of cultivation was not very strong, but he had endless treasures. This was very shocking. Everyone's eyes became greedy. The cloaked man was too bold. This drunken dream leaf sword is mine. I didn't expect you to steal it.
Right at this moment, a skinny man arrived before the stall and looked at one of the ancient swords with bright eyes.
The sword was completely blue and had clouds flowing around it. If one stared at the sword, they would feel as if they were in a dream. This was the extremely famous drunken dream leaf sword. The owner of this sword was a 10th level martial immortal expert. He was quite famous in the Dragon Tongue Fong region. At this moment, Lin Ling slowly raised his eyes and looked at the thin man in front of him. The man was not tall, but his eyes were sharp. Obviously, he was also a decisive person. You said this sword is yours?
Lin Ling said indifferently.
That's right. Now, you have to return the sword to me and compensate me with a treasure. Then, I'll forgive you for your mistake.
The man nodded and said with an extremely tough attitude.
The people around sneered secretly and looked at the cloaked man mockingly. They knew that the owner of the drunken dream leaf sword had died in the Heavenly River, so the man was not the real owner. He was just looking for an excuse to steal the sword. In fact, how could Lin Ling not know this?
He said indifferently, "What if I refuse?"
Then don't blame me for being impolite. The man took a step forward, and his voice became even colder.
Moreover, his hand reached out to grab the sword on the ground.
Seeing this, the eyes of the surrounding people flashed. It seemed that they were also planning to make a move. Because the man had forcefully snatched the sword, they could also take advantage of the chaos to snatch away all the treasures of the cloaked man. Moreover, even if they didn't snatch it, others would.
However, just as the man was about to grab the sword, Lin Ling's finger was already on the sword. Just one finger was enough to make the man unable to lift the sword.
Let go! The man flew into a rage and punched towards Lin Ling with his other hand. This punch contained 50% of the power of the universe. Seeing this, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. He pointed with his left hand. Get out of my way! The finger collided with the fist, and a cracking sound was heard. The man's left fist was penetrated by the finger, and his entire arm was crippled.
The man screamed in pain as he stared at Lin Ling with eyes full of terror.
You dare to snatch things with your little strength? Lin Ling said indifferently. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't get out of my way, you'll die.
Get out of my way.
I was wrong. Get out of my way. The man's expression changed drastically. He finally reacted and hurriedly ran away.
However, his eyes were filled with viciousness and unwillingness. After leaving the crowd, he gritted his teeth and said, Good. You dared to cripple my arm. I won't let you leave Dragon Tooth City. Get out of my way.
After saying this, he strode away. Obviously, he was going to find help. As for the martial artists around Lin Ling, they didn't dare to make a move to snatch the treasures.
They were even glad that the man had made a move to let them know how terrifying the cloaked man was.
Don't do things more than 3 times. If you have any ideas about me again, The next one won't be getting out of my way, but death. Get out of my way. Lin Ling sat cross-legged and coldly spat out this sentence. He also knew that Dragon Tooth City was a lawless area, so he didn't have to be afraid. The people around him didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. However, they looked at the treasures with fiery eyes. Finally, someone asked. After all, if they couldn't snatch the treasures, they could at least buy them. 1,000,000 royal crystals for a treasure of the semi-supreme level. If it's any other level, 100,000 royal crystals will do. Lin Ling also calmly quoted the price. So expensive? Wow! People exclaimed, but Lin Ling didn't bother to pay attention to them. The treasures were in his hands. Take them or leave them. People's eyes kept flashing. Seeing that Lin Ling was unwilling to compromise, they finally reluctantly took out their royal crystals to trade. After all, if they missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Lin Ling was expressionless. He took the royal crystals and threw out the treasures. After an unknown period of time, a voice suddenly came from the front. Reeing, do you know how much money you've wasted by delaying my time? Brother Bailey, I know that you're searching for the cockroach from a year ago. It's a very important matter. However, I saw a treasure. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to disturb you. That treasure contains a large number of semi-supreme weapons. Brother Bailey definitely won't suffer a loss. That's more like it. The crowd gradually separated. 5 figures appeared in front of Lin Ling's stall and stared coldly at Lin Ling. They're from the Bailey clan.
Looking at the young man in the lead, the surrounding people quickly dispersed with a respectful look on their faces. The young man in the lead had a cultivation of the stage 7 martial immortal realm. He seemed to be hiding some trump cards. Therefore, the crowd was quite wary of him. He looked at Lin Ling calmly and said, "How much is that cauldron?" Lin Ling sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly shut. He appeared to be unperturbed, but in reality, he had also heard the words of those few people earlier. In fact, he had even sensed that the man whose arm had been crippled had returned at this moment. He immediately understood what was going on. 1,000,000 royal crystals for a semi-supreme weapon. Lin Ling said indifferently. So expensive? Don't you think you're being too greedy? The young man frowned. Lin Ling's attitude annoyed him. He didn't even look at him. Are you deaf? However, Lin Ling replied coldly. He knew that this person was doing it on purpose. You don't know how to be polite. I'm talking to you nicely. How dare you scold me? The young man's face became angry. He seemed to be using this as a pretext to make a fuss. The surrounding people's eyes flickered. They knew that the people from the Bailey clan were looking for an excuse to attack. After all, it wouldn't be nice to talk about robbing. The Bailey clan didn't want to lose face. However, Lin Ling still sat cross-legged and didn't move an inch. Can't you hear me? The young man's eyes were filled with killing intent. Finally, Lin Ling opened his eyes and said, "You have 3 breaths time. Get lost." What an arrogant rogue cultivator. No one has ever dared to say, "Get lost," in front of me. The price for that word is very high. Chapter 3005. The assassination was coming. Scram. Get lost. However, Lin Ling had already stood up and roared a few times. Was he trying to tell the young man that 1 scram was not enough? How about 3 or 4? The young man was stunned. He hadn't expected the cloaked man to be even more arrogant than he had imagined. He immediately attacked, and a wolf-fang saber appeared in his hand. He looked at Lin Ling and viciously slashed out, causing the wind and clouds to surge. A semi-extreme weapon. Everyone was greatly alarmed as they sensed the terrifying power of the universe. Rumble. However, at this moment, Lin Ling also made his move. He didn't use any powerful martial arts. Instead, he threw out a punch, and with a cracking sound, the huge wolf-fang blade shattered. This time, everyone was shocked. The young man stood there in a daze, holding a broken saber. Scram. If it's not enough, then die. Lin Ling took a step forward, and his godly demon physique descended. It was as if he had the power to uproot mountains and rivers, causing the entire street to shake. Both of them punched out at the same time.
Lin Ling already knew that the young man was from the 100 Lane clan. Even if there were no grudges between them, Lin Ling wouldn't let him go. Not to mention, the other party was trying to kill him. This was simply courting death. Do you know who I am? Looking at the punch with the roar of the dragon god, the young man's face changed dramatically. Even if you are Bailey Yenwu, you will still die. Boom. Lin Ling killed the young man with one punch. Then, he did not show any mercy and killed the rest of the people. Only the man with the broken arm was left alive.
At that moment, the man's face was pale and he was so frightened that he fell to the ground.
Let me ask you a question. Who is the Bailey clan after?
Lin Ling looked down at the man and said indifferently.
He's one of the 3 youths who escaped a year ago.
The man quickly replied.
Thank you. Lin Ling's gaze turned serious. He knew that his big brother was trapped in the city. He had to go help him immediately.
After that, Lin Ling raised his foot high and hung it above the man's head, causing the latter's face to be filled with regret.
I've already answered your question. You promised not to kill me.
When did I promise you anything?
In fact, you shouldn't have come back. Lin Ling smirked coldly. His foot stomped down heavily like a dragon's tail. With a boom, the man was turned into a pile of meat. The whole street was split open, shocking the whole city. However, Lin Ling didn't stop. He disappeared from where he stood. So strong, this person's strength is too terrifying. Yeah, I feel like a berserk dragon has infiltrated Dragontooth City. Seeing that Lin Ling had disappeared, the rogue cultivators started to discuss among themselves. At this moment, the arena in the east of the city was the arena for life and death battles in Dragontooth City. Those who survived would be rewarded handsomely, while those who died would be reduced to ashes. On the other hand, the usually bustling arena was extremely quiet today. Moreover, this vast arena had been sealed off by someone. Are you trapped here? Outside the arena, a large number of experts gathered there and laughed coldly. Right now, Sakura was being pressured by them step by step. In the end, he escaped to this arena. Now, it would be difficult for him to escape. Young Master Bai Li has entered. He probably wants to catch that cockroach with his own hands. Old Ma is also following him. This person is a 10th stage martial immortal. He's a ruthless person. With him around, there's no need to be afraid of that cockroach escaping. We'll guard outside the arena and make sure nothing goes wrong. A white-haired old man laughed. He was thin and weak, with a centipede-like scar on his face. His hands were holding 2 delicate beauties. His aged hands were rubbing them, causing the women to moan. As for the old man, his face was filled with satisfaction. This made the rogue cultivators at the side lick their lips. Evil flames rose in their hearts. They planned to vent their anger after completing this mission. You guys watch for a while. I'll leave for a while. The old man suddenly said in a dignified manner. Everyone nodded in tacit understanding. The envy in their eyes became thicker. The old man carried the 2 women to a corner of the arena. Then he started to move. Moaning sounds continued to ring out. Not long after, the old man let out a roar as if he was venting something. His entire body was incomparably carefree. Looking at the 2 delicate women at his feet, their cheeks were red and they had already fainted. The goods this time are not bad. The old man reluctantly rubbed the woman's softness. With a smile, he put on his clothes and was about to leave. However, at this moment, a cold killing intent suddenly arrived. It was like a sword in the shadows, causing the old man's expression to change instantly. His intuition, which had been wandering in the ancient forest for many years, made him take a step and disappear on the spot. Puff! A strong light shot down from the sky. The ground was penetrated, revealing a finger-sized hole. It was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom. This assassin-like attack made the old man's expression turn serious. He knew that although the power of the attack was not great, if it hit a person's body, it would definitely penetrate everything. Moreover, he sensed that the ground within a few hundred meters of the ground had completely collapsed. This meant that not only could the finger penetrate a person's body, it could also destroy all the vitality of a person. What a powerful attack! The old man couldn't help but raise his head. A cloaked man walked down from the sky like an assassin of the Grim Reaper. Who are you? Why do you want to kill me? The old man said coldly. He was an expert at the 10th level of the martial immortal realm. This was the first time he was assassinated by someone. It's because it's you. That's why I want to kill you. The cloaked man walked down from the sky and slowly took off his hood, revealing a handsome face. He was like a god, like the Grim Reaper. It's you? You didn't die? The old man's pupils constricted, because this was one of the three youths. He never thought that there would still be one alive, and even dared to assassinate him. One had to know that there were many experts standing guard not far away. Haha, I didn't expect you to remember me. Fortunately, I also remember you. You were one of the leaders of the last assassination attempt. Lin Ling landed on the ground and said calmly. So what? You escaped last time. You shouldn't have come back. This time, do you think you can escape? I have to admit that you're quite powerful. However, the attack you used before should have been your full strength. However, you failed. A powerful aura spread out from the old man's body. The power of the universe surged as he stared at Lin Ling as if he was staring at his prey. I just wanted to save some time by assassinating you. Lin Ling smiled. He knew that his brother was trapped in the arena. Therefore, he didn't plan to delay any longer. He stomped on the ground and the speed of 30 worlds appeared. Mixed with the innate ability of the realm-devouring beast, it turned into a ferocious punch that flew towards the old man like a meteor. I know you're quite capable. However, coming here is the biggest mistake of your life. If you can't kill me in one blow, you'll be hunted down by all the rogue cultivators in the city. The old man sneered. He even thought that Lin Ling was stupid. Even if Lin Ling succeeded in killing him in this place, he would alert the enemy and die in the city. Moreover, Lin Ling couldn't kill him. Rumble. Chapter 3006. It was a massacre. Boom. The two experts collided and they were evenly matched. I told you that you can't kill me with a single strike. The old man was shocked by the young man's strength. If a level 4 martial immortal could fight against him, what if he was a level 4 martial immortal? That was unimaginable. Fortunately, the young man was too confident. He was walking right into the trap. That's not necessarily true. However, at that moment, a cold voice sounded in front of him. Colorful flames suddenly erupted from the fist and the power of the universe was born. The old man's expression changed greatly. This mysterious young man could increase his strength? Although he seemed to be evenly matched with the young man, he was actually an arrow at the end of its flight. Therefore, if the young man unleashed a bit more strength, he would definitely not be able to stop him. Crackle! When the god-demon body and the space-time flame appeared, the old man felt a strong realm essence rushing toward him. He finally knew how terrifying Lin Ling was. His fist collided with Lin Ling's fist. However, Lin Ling's fist released a strong realm essence, causing the old man's arm to expand rapidly as if it was being blown up. The ferocious realm essence even reached his body. The old man panicked. He wanted to retreat, he wanted to run away, and he even wanted to call for help. However, it was too late. No. In the end, with a boom, the level 10 martial immortal expert was only able to shout out one sentence before he was destroyed by the powerful force. It's not difficult to kill you with a single strike. Lin Ling waved his arm and the space-time flame disappeared into his body. He walked out from the corner. Although the old man was a level 10 martial immortal, Lin Ling was a level 4 martial immortal. Coupled with the fusion of the realm essence in his dantian, he had already surpassed the level 10 martial immortal realm. What happened? There seems to be a rumble over there. Hee, that old man is too fierce. He should be doing that kind of thing. However, those two beauties won't be able to take it. I see. I was surprised for nothing. I thought some strong enemy had come. Are you stupid? What kind of expert could come here? Outside the arena, the experts were worried at first, but they gradually relaxed. There were over 100 late-stage martial immortals here. Unless one was a half-sage, who would dare to behave atrociously here? It's your turn. However, just as they finished speaking, a figure wearing a large cloak walked out, causing those people to fall silent. A trace of uneasiness arose in their hearts as they looked around, wanting to find that expert at the 10th level of the martial immortal realm. There's no need to look. That old pervert is already dead. The person who came was none other than Lin Ling. He waved his powerful fist and looked down on these experts like a god.
Brat, who are you?
He seems to be the young man from a year ago.
He's not dead.
Someone recognized Lin Ling and shouted, causing the entire space to become deathly silent. Haha, we searched high and low for them, only to find them by chance. I didn't expect that we would be able to catch 2 people today. We're going to make a great contribution. Although they were surprised by Lin Ling's appearance, they were not afraid of Lin Ling. The reason was that this was the headquarters of the Bailey clan and the Lu clan. Perhaps they thought that they would not die in a place like Dragon Tooth City. 15, 16, 17. At this moment, Lin Ling was expressionless as he calmly reported the number of people. Brat, what are you doing? Someone with a calm temperament couldn't help but ask. Because Lin Ling had appeared alone and was facing so many strong cultivators, this young man was either stupid or had prepared a backup plan.
Perhaps he had invited some strong cultivators to help him.
I'm going to kill all of you, so I don't want any of you to escape. After Lin Ling reported the number of people, he nodded calmly. There were exactly 98 people, less than 100 people. Arrogant. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the experts all roared. Did this young man want to kill all of them by himself? One had to know that there were many experts in the arena.
If all of them came out, this young man would die here even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms.
Cherish this hard-won sunlight, because you won't be able to see the sun in the sky tomorrow. Lin Ling did not plan to waste any more time.
His 4 dantians began to merge, and the fire of time spread throughout his body, causing him to become as bright as a flower.
The multicolored flames were extremely dazzling, and even the people in the distance were attracted by them. However, when they saw Lin Ling intending to fight almost 100 people by himself, the passers-by were all in disbelief. At this moment, Lin Ling erupted with the speed of 30 worlds, causing the experts to be unable to react because that speed was too fast. Shameless boasting.
One of them was still angrily shouting.
He recalled the events of a year ago. At that time, the 3 young men were hunted down like stray dogs, so after a year, the young man would not be able to change anything. He was still a stray dog. Boom. However, just as that person finished speaking, a fist passed through the side of his face, causing his head to spin like a top. In the next moment, he saw his back, and he went crazy. He was even terrified. Could it be that his head had been twisted to the back?
Just as this thought appeared in his mind, he felt dizzy, and with a plop, he died.
You killed the violent tremor blade? In the crowd, someone roared, causing the entire arena to shake. No one expected that a late-stage martial immortal expert would be killed in a single blow. This caused the remaining people to be incomparably furious. In the past, it must have been fun to hunt me down, right? Today it's your turn.
Lin Ling did not care about the anger of the crowd.
He activated his terrifying speed and weaved through the crowd. His fists were like the fists of the war god, wild and unruly.
The power of his world origin and physical body was extremely fierce.
Puff! With a punch, another person's chest was pierced through.
He lowered his head and looked at the bloody hole in his chest, as if he was in disbelief.
The second one. Outside the arena, the cold voice continued to float out.
Fresh blood began to dye the ground red.
You're crazy. Seeing Lin Ling continuously killing their people, the eyes of the experts turned red. However, Lin Ling's speed was incomparably fast, so they could not catch up to him. When they finally caught up, another person had already died. The 25th one. Bang, bang, bang. The 32nd one.
Like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, every time the voice rang out, the life of an expert would be reaped.
One should know that these experts came from the 9 prefectures, and in their hometowns, they were formidable overlords. However, in this place they were like ants. Who is this person? He's so powerful. His speed and world origin are both very fierce. He doesn't look like a 4th stage martial immortal at all. I heard that he was one of the 3 people who were hunted down a year ago. I didn't expect him to come back for revenge. Chapter 3007. No one could stop him. He's too scary. We can't win against him. As time passed, there were only a dozen people left in front of the arena. However, they were all panicking. Compared to a year ago, the young man was like a completely different person. He gave them the feeling that he was an expert in the half-step sage realm. Most importantly, the young man didn't use any martial arts. He only relied on his fists to conquer the world. This was beyond their understanding. Run! The remaining people hesitated for a moment before they started to run in different directions. It's too late to run now. Lin Ling sneered. Naturally, he wouldn't do something as stupid as cutting weeds without removing the roots. He took a step and chased after 5 of them. He looked down at them like a god. Don't go too far. You've already killed so many people. Do you still want to kill all of us? Seeing Lin Ling chasing after them, those people were both angry and scared. Back then, thousands of you chased after the 3 of us. Didn't you also kill all of us? However, the shadow of the Grim Reaper behind them laughed sarcastically. The Grim Reaper's scythe slashed down fiercely. His fist destroyed all the power of the universe and killed 5 people in an instant. They died again. Hurry up and run. It'll be too late if we're late. The faces of the people on the other side turned even paler. They wished they could grow another pair of legs and leave this place. However, their speed couldn't be faster than Lin Ling's 30-world speed. After a moment, Lin Ling's figure appeared in the corner of the arena again. He slowly walked back with 5 corpses in his right hand. Bang! 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 Those corpses fell to the ground, causing the arena door to fall into a deathly silence. This was because everyone was killed. Even those who tried to escape were no exception. This terrifying scene caused the martial artists in the distance to tremble with fear. They couldn't say a word. What happened? Didn't young Master Bailey tell you not to make a ruckus? At this moment, 3 people walked out of the door. They were from the gladiator arena. However, when they saw the scene at the arena door, they were all stunned. Outside the door, blood flowed like a river. Corpses littered the ground. The hundreds of experts from before looked as if they had been eaten by ferocious beasts. Not a single one was left. On the contrary, a man in a large cloak was searching among the corpses and collecting all the treasures. Retreat! Retreat! This scene caused the faces of those people. They only wanted to inform the young master quickly. Wait! However, just as they moved, a lazy and icy voice was transmitted over. The man who was collecting the treasures slowly turned around at this moment. He had delicate features and there was a friendly smile at the corner of his mouth. However, when this smile landed in the eyes of the few people, it was just like the smile of the god of death. At this moment, they didn't of the people. They didn't know why they didn't dare to move. They only had a feeling that if they moved a finger, they would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Is my big brother of them? Move! Lin Ling walked slowly towards the 3 of them with a calm expression, as though he was strolling in his own backyard. The 3 of them were shocked. Could this young man be one of the people who escaped a year ago? This was too abnormal. He knew that the Bailey clan and the Liu clan were looking for him, but he actually swaggered into the Dragon Tooth City and killed so many cultivators. Their young Master Bailey didn't even know that he had killed so many cultivators. After all, young Master Bailey was only 1 wall away from the arena door. Therefore, they couldn't help but be shocked by this young man's courage. He's inside. One of them was completely afraid of Lin Ling's eyes and quickly replied in fear. Don't say it. The other person shouted anxiously. However, it was too late because the first person had already said it. I like honest people the most. The one who spoke can live, but the rest must die. Lin Ling nodded and walked toward the arena step by step. The other 2 people's expressions changed drastically. They never thought that saying a word could save their lives. If they had known, they would have said it. After all, what they said was no secret. Go to hell. However, the 2 of them didn't have time to regret it. They activated their powerful Jie Yuan martial arts and landed on Lin Ling with a boom. However, Lin Ling stood there like a pine tree and didn't move at all. Instead, he patted his clothes and said, "Is that all you've got?" The realm-devouring beast appeared behind him quietly. Its huge mouth made people tremble in fear. Plop! The 2 of them were so scared that they fell to the ground. They were experts at the 8th stage of the martial immortal realm. However, under their full-strength attack, their opponent was unharmed. The gap was too big. Both of you can die now. Lin Ling didn't even look at the 2 of them. With his god-devil body, unless the opponent had the power of a higher rank or the desolate body, he wasn't afraid of them. Bang bang. Following Lin Ling's footsteps, the two of them were killed with a punch. Their blood dyed the door red. The remaining person stood there like a puppet, not daring to move at all. The two people who died were his seniors. They were people he had always admired and looked up to. However, these seniors were like chickens and dogs in front of the young man. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. This was completely different from what he had imagined. Watching the young man gradually leave, that person's heart was constantly hesitating. His eyes instantly turned cold. His body disappeared and a scorpion-shaped dagger appeared in his hand. This dagger was extremely extraordinary. It was a poison weapon. He had once used this poison weapon to kill an expert at the 10th stage of the martial immortal realm. This dagger was made from the tail of the universal scorpion. Although it looked ordinary, its power was almost at the level of a semi-extreme weapon. Whoosh! The dagger directly stabbed Lin Ling's back. Success! That person was overjoyed. He didn't expect it to go so smoothly. Perhaps this young man was too confident. At this moment, Lin Ling slowly turned around and looked at that person indifferently. You sneak attacked me? I don't believe that you will let me go. You must be lying to me. Because a long time ago, I learned that one's life is in one's own hands. Never trust others. Ha ha ha, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too confident and too kind. That person said with a ferocious expression. He wasn't old. He had only cultivated for 3,000 years. He couldn't compare to other old monsters. However, his talent was ordinary. He had reached the martial immortal realm in 3,000 years. This showed how sinister and cautious this person was. How pitiful. There was a way to live but you chose to die. Lin Ling was expressionless. He pulled out the dagger on his back.
With a clench of his hand, the dagger turned into powder.
You weren't poisoned? That young man saw that Lin Ling seemed to be safe and sound.
His laughing expression disappeared and turned into fear.
You underestimated my body too much.
Lin Ling looked at him coldly. The young man knelt down with a plop. I'm sorry, I was wrong.
I, Lin Ling, am a man of my words. If I say I will let you go, I will let you go. In my eyes, you are not much different from an ant. Killing one more ant or one less, it doesn't affect me much. Unfortunately, you missed this opportunity. Chapter 3008. Translator, Exodus Tales Editor. Exodus Tales UVE offended someone you shouldn't have. I was wrong. Give me another chance, okay? The young man's eyes were moist, and he was practically crying. He hardened his heart and attacked earlier because he really didn't believe Lin Ling. He thought Lin Ling was playing with him and would kill him in the end. However, he wronged Lin Ling. In Lin Ling's heart, he was really not worth mentioning. Whether he lived or died didn't matter much. However, he overestimated himself and underestimated Lin Ling at the same time. He didn't want to die. He still had a great future. Bang! Lin Ling revealed an evil smile. His palm landed on the young man's forehead, causing blood to flow out from the latter's forehead. He fell down with a plop and died completely. Lin Ling shook his head helplessly and entered the arena. In his opinion, there was actually such a foolish person. He, Lin Ling, didn't want to waste time, so he couldn't be bothered to kill that ant. In the end, the ant thought too highly of himself and actually came to throw away his life. In this world, there are really many lowly people. At this moment, the fierce battle was still continuing in the enormous arena. Several figures were besieging Sakura, and Sakura was desperately resisting, but his momentum was gradually losing ground. Bailey Yenwu, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. You lied to us. Sakura was roaring furiously as well. On the other side, Bailey Yenwu sat on a chair and drank lightly with a carefree expression. It was as if he was watching a dog being gradually slaughtered. Yell, yell, the louder the better. Bailey Yenwu laughed and said, The three of you should have come from somewhere else, right? No wonder you were so naive and stupid. Last time, I felt that your strength wasn't weak, so I lied to you to shake hands and make peace. But you really believed it. In fact, if a conflict really happened at that time, with the martial artists I brought, they couldn't stop you at all. So, I shook hands and made peace with you. Otherwise, Do you think you country bumpkins could talk to me?
You bastard. You'll regret it. Hearing that, Sakura was boiling with anger.
Last time, they saw that Bailey Yenwu was easy to talk to. Plus, they didn't want to waste time in Dragon Tooth City, so they made peace.
But who knew that although they let Bailey Yenwu go, he didn't let them go?
Haha, I, Bailey Yenwu, have never regretted anything. I've never hesitated in my life. You're called Sakura, right? When you go to the underworld after death, tell the god of the underworld that it was me, Bailey Yenwu. Lord Lu, cripple him. Bailey Yenwu drank another mouthful of wine. He didn't want to waste any more time.
Yes, young master.
A 10th-layer martial immortal realm expert walked out from the dueling ground. His universal world realm his worlds. S's. Com Tales's tales translated tales. SSD. Young master, this Sakura must not be killed. He must be left for Fairy Lu. The guards beside Bailey Yenwu said respectfully. Of course. The Lu family is from the Heavenly Court. We can't offend them. Today, we'll do them a favor. Bailey Yenwu nodded. Their Bailey family was still very afraid of the Heavenly Court. Go see what's happening outside the arena. The three of them haven't returned for so long. I'm afraid something might have happened. Then, Bailey Yenwu said, what can happen? There's a level martial immortal stage expert at the entrance of the arena. Who in the vicinity can be their match? The guard replied with a smile. But he still obeyed Bailey Yenwu. At that moment, the level martial immortal stage expert Lord Lu's right hand turned into a tiger's claw. Black light flickered, and as if he was going to tear through the world, he ferociously attacked Sakura. You're also a rare talent. What a pity, what a pity. Today I, Lord Lu, will cripple you. Lord Lu sneered. However, when his palm was about to grab Sakura, his body suddenly froze. This unforeseen event made Xueqi stunned, and the people around him were also stunned. Lord Lu, why don't you cripple him? Bailey Yenwu also noticed that something was wrong with Lord Lu.
He instantly frowned and had an ominous premonition in his heart. Lord Lu, don't tell me you won't listen to the orders of my Bailey clan?
Bailey Yenwu said again. Then, he stood up and planned to go over and take a look. Plop! Almost at the same time, Lord Lu's head slowly slid down and smashed onto the ground. It was a shocking scene. The arena instantly fell into a deathly silence. What happened? The expressions of the various experts changed greatly. Grandpa Lu, that was an expert at the 10th level of the martial immortal realm. He was killed? Moreover, throughout the entire process, they didn't see who did it. Instantly, an unknown fear arose in their hearts, causing their expressions to turn grave. Pa! At the same time, footsteps could be heard in the distance of the arena. A wide cloak slowly appeared. Holding a huge sword, the tip of the sword drew on the ground, causing dazzling sparks. He walked over step by step. Bailey Yenwu, we meet again. His indifferent voice was like a gust of wind that spread throughout the entire arena. It's you. Looking at the figure, Bailey Yenwu's pupils finally trembled. Sakura was stunned for a moment. Then he was overjoyed. Second brother, you didn't die? He was incomparably excited and tears flowed out. In the past year, he had been searching for the whereabouts of Lin Ling and Meng Lu. However, there was no news. This caused him to think that Lin Ling and Meng Lu were dead. But now, Lin Ling appeared in front of him again. Big brother, we brothers are gathered again. Seeing that Sakura was fine, Lin Ling couldn't help but smile. However, his gaze quickly fell on Bailey Yenwu. A cold killing intent spread out from his body. Bailey Yenwu, you didn't expect that I didn't die, right? You even came to find me personally. Even Lin Ling's voice was filled with killing intent. Bailey Yenwu's heart trembled inexplicably and he started to panic. In the past, he already knew that Lin Ling and the other two were very strong. Now, even a 10th stage martial immortal expert was killed by a sneak attack. Therefore, he alone couldn't stop Lin Ling. Somebody come, somebody come. Help! Bailey Yenwu couldn't help but shout anxiously. He wanted the experts outside the arena to come. No need to shout. They're all dead. Help! However, Lin Ling directly killed all his hopes. Plop! As soon as those words fell, Bailey Yenwu's heart was struck by lightning. In fact, among Sakura and the other two, he was most afraid of Lin Ling.
This was because he had a feeling that Lin Ling was the strongest among the three. Now, he knew that his intuition wasn't wrong.
As for the people around you, they're all dead now. Lin Ling continued to move forward. The huge sword gently slashed out. The sword light was crystal clear and dazzling. No one could block it. Those few cultivators were instantly slashed into two. In an instant, only Bailey Yenwu was left in the entire arena. In the past, you said that we should shake hands and make peace.
However, after that you sent people to kill us.
Don't you know that your actions have caused you to offend someone you shouldn't have? Chapter 3009. A half-step Sage Realm expert has arrived. Bailey Yenwu's expression changed drastically. If he didn't have any regrets before, he was now filled with regret. He never thought that his life would be ended by Lin Ling. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have stood up for Fairy Lu. How about giving me a chance? Even if you kill me, you won't be able to leave Dragon Tooth City. Why don't you spare my life and I'll guarantee that you can leave this city. I know you're going to the Spirit Province, but Dragon Tooth City is the only way to get there. Bailey Yenwu looked at Lin Ling eagerly. Don't talk about how powerful your Bailey family is. If we head to the Spirit Province, no one can stop us. If Dragon Tooth City overestimates itself, then we'll annihilate your Bailey family. You may not believe me, but I've already formed an alliance with the Uzumaki clan outside the city and some other clans in the ancient forest. I think these opponents should be a headache for you. Lin Ling sneered. Impossible. Bailey Yenwu's expression changed again. The Uzumaki clan that Lin Ling mentioned was their Bailey family's greatest enemy. He never thought that Lin Ling would have such great rallying power. You have no way out. When you chased us in the past, you already had half a foot in the underworld. Once you're there, you can tell the underworld god that I, Lin Ling, killed you. Lin Ling raised the sword in his hand. Haha, you think you can kill me? I just rarely make a move. Do you think I'm weak? Bailey Yenwu saw Lin Ling's decisive killing intent and threw caution to the wind. He was a shrewd person. Outsiders might think that he wasn't strong, but in reality, he possessed the desolate body. Let me show you my talent. Bailey Yenwu roared, and the talent hidden within his body was unleashed. The cry of a crane rang out. Then, tens of thousands of stars shone brightly, and the light of treasures soared into the sky. The entire Dragon Tooth City sensed it. Exquisite stars, pure crane. According to legends, this was the body of the divine crane. After the desolate body appeared, the pressure on Sakura increased greatly. It was as if he was facing an endless void and he was like a small boat in the sea. This was because his cultivation realm was the same as Bailey Yenwu's. However, Bailey Yenwu's talent was at the desolate body grade. Therefore he felt such pressure. Unless his cultivation level was higher than Bailey Yenwu's, the pressure would never disappear. Desolate body? Is this your confidence? Lin Ling's eyes flickered slightly. He did not expect that Bailey Yenwu was hiding a trump card. Haha, are you scared now? Do you think you can still kill me? Let me tell you, even though you're stronger than me, you'll have to put in a lot of effort to kill me. At that time my father also came. Bailey Yenwu was in high spirits, extremely proud of himself. It's too early for you to celebrate. However, he did not know that the existence of the desolate body was nothing to Lin Ling. Unless his desolate body exceeded Lin Ling's by a lot. But from the looks of it, Bailey Yenwu's desolate body was weaker than Lin Ling's. Watch me cripple you. Lin Ling stroked the vines on his left arm. Shao Kunlun immediately grew and turned into a black plant. It sealed the entire arena, turning it into an ancient forest. Pa, pa. Vines lashed out at Bailey Yenwu, causing his expression to change drastically. What sort of means was Lin Ling using? Controlling plants? Furthermore, this plant was too terrifying. It was as though it could drown the entire Dragon Tooth City. However, what truly terrified him was what happened next. Every time the vines lashed out at him, his body would tremble. The talent he was so proud of felt like it was about to leave his body. No! Bailey Yenwu cried out in pain. This was because his talent was obtained by his father in exchange for the Spirit State's illustrious sect. It was also his capital to head to the Spirit State's illustrious sect.
However, this capital, this pride was gradually disappearing. Pa! As the last sound of vines rang out, a divine crane with a dazzling body floated in front of Bailey Yenwu.
Bailey Yenwu's pupils constricted.
His talent had been extracted?
His heart rumbled.
Lin Ling was truly omnipotent.
Now you can still laugh?
I've said it before, we're people you can't afford to offend. Lin Ling looked at Bailey Yenwu mockingly, then said to Sakura, "Big brother, collect his talent, then cripple him."
Roger that. Sakura was already itching to make a move.
During this period of time, he had been hunted down so miserably. Now, he was going to return the favor tenfold.
Bailey Yenwu, have you ever thought that this day would come?
Sakura arrived in front of Bailey Yenwu, and first, he ruthlessly lashed out with his palm.
Pa, 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 pa.
Bailey Yenwu's head was like a rattle drum, swaying left and right. He kept vomiting blood, and finally, he was completely knocked out. Before he fainted, his only thought was that he had indeed provoked someone he couldn't afford to provoke.
These two brothers were like two ferocious dragons.
Even the local tyrant couldn't stop their rise.
Stop.
But right when Sakura was about to annihilate Bailey Yenwu, a furious roar suddenly resounded out in the sky, and then a man that was tall and sturdy like Vajra appeared. This man was around 40 years old, had a square face, and his face was covered in a dense beard, and he gave others an imposing feeling. Shockingly, he was Bailey Ishiong, the overlord of Dragontooth City, and Bailey Yenwu's father. Moreover, his cultivation was at the half-saint realm.
Let him go, and I'll let you leave Dragontooth City.
After Bailey Ishiong appeared, his eyes were slightly surprised. He hadn't expected that 2 of the 3 juniors he had hunted down a year ago were still alive and had even caused a huge commotion in his territory.
Who exactly are these 2 people? Why are they so mysterious?
Hand over 50 million monarch crystals, and I'll hand him over to you. Lin Ling's expression was slightly solemn as he raised his head to look at Xiao Xiong in the sky.
The half-saint realm wasn't something he could go against right now.
That person in the sky should have grasped the power of cultivation, and his fiend god physique was slightly unable to resist such divine power.
50 million monarch crystals? Do you know who you're talking to?
Hearing that, Bailey Ishiong's face was filled with anger. Those 2 were trapped in Dragontooth City, yet they were still so arrogant.
80 million. Lin Ling smiled.
His aura wasn't weak at all as he spoke indifferently.
You.
Billowing killing intent appeared in Bailey Ishiong's eyes. He was someone who had fought in the 9 provinces. However, he was tired of that kind of life, so he hid in Dragontooth City. However, when had he ever been threatened by a martial immortal realm weakling?
90 million.
Lin Ling spoke again, fearless and fearless.
Fine, I agree.
Bailey Ishiong's heart trembled. He knew that the young man was also a ruthless person. However, he sneered, "I can give you the monarch crystals, but I hope you'll be alive to enjoy them." After saying that, he glanced at the ring in his hand. After checking it, he threw it at Lin Ling. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.